just living my life, just living my life, just living my life. Just living my life, just living my life, just living my life. It's my time. Just living my life, just living my life, just living my life. It's my time. Just living my life, just living my life, just living my life. It's my time. I came from Philly, then I moved to Harrisburg. Spent time in Cali, blowing on the rarest herb. Made some bread, was a manager then. Good at dealing with people, couldn't handle the pen. Money had me scrambling like Randall back then. Ups and downs with my chick, hard to handle it, man. What's the dough really mean without family and love? Still go for your dreams, but put family above all the shallow shit. People try to take you off your path, you don't allow that shit. Stop wanting love from those that don't know you. Appreciate your folks that seen what you go through. Why would I stop? I don't even know how. Papa Zan, that's the only way I'll slow down. I could entertain y'all, but I'm no clown. Puff and puff on that L till it blows down. Just living my life, just living my life, just living my life. Just living my life, just living my life, just living my life. Just living my life, just living my life.
I have a lot of cool I have questions, I guess, because I'm interested.
Okay.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is Anthony with Interviews with Everyday People. Before we get into our guests and everything here, I just want to let you guys know that if you check the links below, it'll pretty much cover everything we're talking about today, as well as our merch page that we just updated. So before, you would have to go to 4 different pages to find the merch for each one of our shows. I streamlined it. It's all one. It's all under the network thing, so you can find everything there. We do also have donations as well if you're looking to support and help us grow. The reason we have these nice, cool microphones now is because of the merch page, which every time I listen to the show now, I'm like, man, it sounds so much better than it used to. We just hit our year anniversary, so it's like you're on the birthday show, I guess you would say. Like this is 1 year of interviews. If you go back and listen to the earlier interviews, they're horrible. I mean, the interview itself is great, but the quality sometimes is terrible because I didn't know what I was doing, and every time I hit record, I learned something new every time. So it's like a process there. So
I know what you mean. That's why I thought about coming on earlier, and I was like, oh no, he's got some kinks to work.
Yeah,
out.
you
gotta wait. Gotta hedge my bets here.
Yeah. I gotta wait till he gets better at what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want my name on that crazy train.
Well, it's 45 episodes in, so I guess hopefully we're there now.
Oh yeah.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
It's great. Good work.
All right, so I'm having a beer, so sorry, we're just cleansing our palates here. So go ahead, you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, I'm so glad you did that because I have a very hard to pronounce last name. My name is Catherine Mahon. I'm a Schuylkill County native, went to Pottsville High School, work in Schuylkill Haven, live in Schuylkill Haven too now. Recently, though, I was in the newspapers because I was running for county treasurer.
Awesome.
Which was an experience.
Yes. Now, obviously, like people in this area are very hesitant to take on something, let alone public office. Like you're doing something that you're. I mean, people probably do things just for the glitz and the glam and like to say they're doing it, but then there's people who do stuff to make a legit change or make a purpose to it. So what was some of your points that you were trying to do for Schuylkill County office to make changes? Like what were your I don't even know if that's a thing. Like, do you have to put your things out there that you're doing for, or is it kind of like you just put your name on a ballot and hope it goes through?
All right. Well,
I'm not much into politics, so you got to break a lot down for me.
You're going to learn today. So first of all, the glitz and glam. Local politics is loaded with it. Honestly, it's the most glamorous thing I ever did. So getting into politics is just a matter of when I was in high school, I had nothing better to do. So I would just volunteer on campaigns, notable presidential campaigns, congressional campaigns. So people kind of got to know me. So when we had an election, they were like, hey, we got some spots to fill. Who could we put in there? And they were like, that Caitlin girl, we could have her run. Why don't we call her up? And that's kind of how I got my start. Mm-hmm. So to get on the ballot, it's a signature process. You collect 250 signatures, might be 350. It's been ages. I can't remember. So you get all these signatures from a Democratic or a Republican Party or Libertarian, whatever your flavor is. You turn them in, and that's it. That's how you get on the ballot. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it than just getting on the ballot. But, if you ever want to run, that's all you got to do.
I'm sure I can get signatures.
Oh my God!
But then I would get it, and then I don't think I want this.
Yeah, and it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually revoke it, but, you know, you already got the signatures.
So, how did you land on treasurer? Like, what was the reasoning behind going for that position?
So, to preface, 4 years ago, I ran for clerk of courts. I was like 19 or 20 at the time. I, of course, lost, and I was like, I'm never doing this ever
Do you
again.
think the age thing affected you?
I'm just going to go ahead and say no. Because if you look at the numbers, there's no distinguishable... The numbers from back then, there was no distinguishable difference. I was running with a great slate of candidates, different backgrounds, all successful people, competent people, and I got votes like in the median area. So there's a lot of conjecture with politics to say, what do people care about? What do people respond to? And at the end of the day, it seemed almost random. Even after all the effort, people put way more effort in. And I can say that, like, you know, they gave it their all. Like, I gave it my all, but these people, they had their families out there campaigning for them, and they did about as well as I did. And it's just like, that's the way politics is. Like, you think you have an idea of what it's like, but once you get into it, it's always changing. So there was that. So I ran 4 years ago. I lost, and I'm like, I'm never doing this ever again. So 4 years later, they're like, hey, want to run for treasurer? And I said, sure, because, you know, we don't remember pain. We don't remember misery. So it was far removed enough that I was like, yeah, I could try it again. I think I could do it this time. So, you know, they gave me the rundown, like, these are the people you're going to be running with. This is what the situation is. And I'm like, sure, I'll give her a go. So I went through the same process last time. I got the signatures. I got on the ballot, and I'm shaking hands, kissing babies for the better part of like 9 months, and then the election comes. So the main reason I wanted to do it again, I wasn't totally terrified, was I love the experience of running for office. Like, it gives you an excuse to go talk to people. Sadly, though, I have one of those personality types that is absolutely awful for being a politician because I'm introverted. I don't necessarily like talking to people all the time. Talking to people all the time just drains me. But I do treasure, like, those little great moments. Like, when you meet somebody, like, I'm up in Shenandoah just talking to some guy, and we're just bullshitting, having a great old time. It's just like, wow, this is nice. And other times, it's just like, oh, you're a Democrat? Hey, fuck off. And it's like, oh, fair, sir. And then I have to act like I'm all right. So it's really a mixed bag, but it's just such a unique experience that it makes me crazy enough to do it again. Yeah, a lot of getting out there, a lot of doing some crazy stuff. I was in a tractor pull. I got into like 3rd place, which was awesome because I beat a sitting congressman. So Dan Muser, if you're listening to this, you know, rematch is on the table.
So what were some of the things that you had planned of once you got in office, of like changes you were going to make?
Most of it was focused on technology because, like, most people's eyes glaze over when you start talking about technology. And the reality is the people most likely to run for office are the least likely to have technical skills. Like, they're usually lawyers, business owners, people who have people to do things for them. They don't necessarily have the experience or background with technology, so that's what I wanted to focus on. So, first of all, the website is majorly outdated, and I said, you know, it looks like it remembers the Y2K scare. It looks like we got some kid in his, like, 2nd year computer science class to just throw up a web page, and you know what? I feel like for $20 we could probably get an even better one. Like, that's just the way it looks, and it just hasn't changed because nobody really cares.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things you have to fight when at the local level is nobody cares. Nobody is really interested in the issues. Nobody knows who the candidates are. You have to kind of, like, push things and throw things in their face, and people don't like that.
Yeah.
I know there's, like, you really have to fight the urge to, like, say something ridiculous to get attention. Like, especially this election, there was a lot of really heated races, and, like, they got attention, but, like, the results were the same as last time. So it's just like, well, what would it take for somebody
maybe it's tough too because the head of the politician scale, or, you know, our president is probably the most controversial, talked about, and says the most edgiest stuff of all time. So, like, does that trickle down to local politics too, where, like, there's like, I gotta be the most, I gotta just go all, like, because before it seemed like politicians were very like, all right, I have to stand by my beliefs, but I also have to still be kind of respectful and not just be like super like. I mean, cutthroat was always a thing, but it was never to the extreme of I think what it is now. Like you see these commercials now, and it's like I'm running for this, and my candidate one time I seen her kick her dog at a party. You know what I mean? And they just go for the throat. Like, do you think that has any effect to that?
Yeah, honestly, I think we're kind of numb. Just because we see so many crazy things, it's like it takes something really crazy to get our attention. So
And it still doesn't matter, though.
It still doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, we got some dead bodies stacked, and people are like, how many dead bodies are we talking about here? So, the top level absolutely affects the bottom level, the local level. And the Donald Trump thing was like something we struggled with as Democratic candidates. Yeah, spoiler alert, I'm a Democrat. And it's something we had to like think about going into this. Like, how do we address this problem? Because the offices we're running for have no political purpose, like what people think politics is. It's just doing a job, going home, make sure things don't burn down. But people will ask you, like, well, what's your opinion on guns? And it's just like, buddy, I can do nothing about your gun from the treasurer's office.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you need a license, come talk to me. But if you need to, like, defend liberty and freedom, you probably need to, like, go to one of those like, rally meetings, okay? I can't help you. Mm-hmm. And another thing is, as a Democrat, and we have to understand this is a Republican county, I have to answer for things that other Democrats do. So I'd be knocking on a door, and I'd be like, hey, can you vote for me? And they'd be like, well, are you a Republican or a Democrat? I'd say Democrat. And they'd say, what do you think about Nancy Pelosi? It's just like, Nancy Pelosi can't even pronounce Schuylkill, so I'm not sure why we're here.
Yeah.
It's hard. Another thing is the slate of candidates, you know, we're all veterans, we're all EMTs, we're all, like, firefighters. But people will say really rude things like, why do you hate America? It's like, buddy, I have this American flag patch on my shoulder once a month for the next 4 years. Like, I think if I hated America, probably wouldn't have joined the army. But people don't put two and two together. Mm-hmm. They just see a person, they see a politician, they see a Democrat, and then they're triggered. They're like, this person is a threat to me, my liberty, and my family. And it's like, that's not the case, though.
Yeah, and to be fair, it goes on both sides.
Oh, it absolutely does. And we can get into that.
Yeah, 100%. So once again, like, I'm not a politician. I don't know anything about politics. I'm probably part of the problem because I don't vote. Sorry. Yikes.
Ooh, that hurts.
I don't even know what I'm registered as. I'm going to be honest. Only because is like, I think at the local level, I probably should look into things more. I honestly should, because I feel like the local level is where it does mean the most. Mm-hmm. But when I read a report saying that, you know, Schuylkill County was one of the biggest offenders in local politics this month, where everyone just walked in and hit vote all and never looked at any, like, they're like, people who are voting are just clearly voting for a color, and they're not looking at anyone else's policies. And then for me personally, and I know this is probably the wrong thing to say, and just my belief is, if I go in and put all my work in and research every single person, I say, all right, listen, this Republican's good for this Democrat's good for this, and I actually do my work, it's not going to really matter, because everyone just kind of hits that pick all button, you know, and it defeats the whole purpose of what this country's about. You know what I mean? They're not really doing their just due. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, that's one of the biggest takeaways from this go around, is that, yeah, I'm definitely way more centrist than I used to be, and that's just from talking to people and, like, absorbing their ideas like a sponge. But it's just, like, the reality is we're brainwashed. Like, we're trained to be triggered by politics. It's like, we have been trained that, like, if you were a Democrat, you were a Democrat from the top down. Anybody says something Republican, you're triggered. You hate them. Everything they do is stupid. They're stupid. Same thing for Republicans. It's just like, oh, you're a Republican from the top down. You don't like Democrats. You know, they want to steal your guns. They want to kill babies, all that stuff. And it's just like, we need to, and that's what, of course, like, the media wants. That's what the power players want. They 100%. Want. Yeah, it's like
that's the only that
we're
sells.
Trained to just hate people for no reason. It's just like, we were up in McAdoo. We were just hanging out in a church. And this is one of the most, like, standout moments to me. We're hanging out in this church, me and the other candidates, just talking, like, what we want to do next. And this guy comes out and he goes, I just want to see who's in my church parking lot. And we're like, oh, we're just chilling, you know, no big deal. Hey, by the way, we're running for office. And he looks at our little pamphlet and he hands it back and goes, you can take that back. I don't vote for Democrats. And we're like, oof, ouch. How about a prayer? And he goes, not for a Democrat. It's like, we're in your church parking lot. So, of course, someone goes, what about for a veteran? What about for a firefighter? And, of course, he doesn't say anything. It's like, what do you say to that? But it's just like, this politics is rooted so deep that someone will take something like religion, throw it out the window and be like, no, I hate you. Mm-hmm. My religious beliefs are obsolete because I hate you that much.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can't relate.
It just really, it has gotten uglier with these last two presidential terms because a lot of people on the one side didn't like Obama, and they can say whatever for the reason they wanted, whether they didn't like his politics or they didn't like his religious upbringing or they didn't like his skin color. Let's call a spade here and say what it really was. And then they voted for whoever was not the other person. When it came down to me and just my beliefs, is I thought both candidates going in were absolutely terrible. Like I couldn't trust Trump. Like, I mean, Trump, at least you kind of, what you see is what you get. Like, he's not behind a thing. He's like, listen, I'm a prick. That's who I am. Where Hillary, to me, was more like, okay, like for me, like she was super against like a lot of different things. And then when it came down to she needed the votes, then she's like, oh, I'm very pro this now. And that, I'd rather you be a prick than be a wish-washer. You know what I mean? So either one of them, I was like, man, like, and then people were like, well, Bernie, my opinion, I think if it was Bernie versus Trump, I think it would have been a lot closer race. Because I think the younger vote would have went one way, more of one way than the other. I could be wrong. Once again, I'm not a politician or into that, so it's different. But it's just it is ugly how people are. Like, you are a veteran, you are someone who serves your country and your community as a volunteer, EMS and firefighter, but because you represent a political party, it's like your values and opinions don't matter, and I think that's disgusting. There are certain things on social media that I do watch and follow, and I think some people do a decent job on both sides of the spectrum. Like, I do watch a lot of left-wing videos, and then I do watch a lot of right-wing videos. And there's some on the right who I think, when they're in a public setting, they're really, like, just a good example, like that Crowder, whatever, it's
Trey Crowder,
or Jason Crowder, or like Louder or Crowder, or whatever his page is, the Change My Mind guy. You know what I'm talking about? He sits at a table and puts a banner.
I've seen the meme.
Yeah. So he does a video. When he's in the studio, he's over the top, and he's always like he is a comedy act then, and he's more like he's out to make fun of everything, and he's more to entertain. But when he's doing the table thing, he does come with a lot of facts, but he very, I think, respectfully speaks his opinion and allows other people to talk. If other people would come and just have a reasonable conversation, because the other side of the spectrum comes and screams and disrupts and tries to just do whatever they possibly can to just make noise so he can't have a conversation. So it does go both ways, but it just sucks. I think if people would just legit have that sit down and have a legit conversation and be open-minded to work with each other, things would get done, because we're at a point now in politics, for me anyway, where the only people who struggle or suffer when it comes to government policies and government officials and stuff like that is us, the lower class, the middle class, because the rich people don't care. They don't, like, the upper echelon does not give a crap about policies because it doesn't affect them, because it just doesn't affect people with money, and it's the truth. But it affects us, and that's why they just have us fighting over stuff that it only affects us. Like, they don't, and that goes for the top of Democrats and Republicans. Like, once you're at a certain level, like, those policies don't mean nothing to them at certain points, and it just sucks because they're not working together to make a cause. It's like a pissing contest.
It is, and that's one thing that I've really grown to hate over the past 9 months is like. The squabbling in DC and like how it directly affects me. It's just like, you guys are, crying about like, oh, they want to have this investigation. Oh, they don't want to have a Russian investigation. It's just like, people are hurting. People have medical bills. People can't find a job, or they're underemployed, and just like, we're not focusing on the stuff that directly affects people. We're just so like eager to stick it to the other side. We care more about sticking it to somebody than we do about making things change. Better. Yeah. Because it feels better. Like, after everything everybody's been through, the thing we care about most is feel like we're getting even. And we all have to be adults here and be like, okay, mean words are said, bad things are done, but we need to, take a breather and focus on what people want. And I think that And of course, I've said this a bunch of times. So people are like, "Oh, well, you're just a sappy politician. You're an idealist." But it's just like, I don't care. This is how I feel. It's unethical to daydream about making this policy and putting it in place when it's going to make half of the population miserable. It's like there is always a middle ground, but we don't want to get the middle ground. We want to get the result that makes us feel good and makes the other side feel bad, because it's like we're getting payback for everything. It's like showing up to your high school bully's house and just sticking it in their face about how much money you make. Just save it for the daydreams, guys. This is the real world. You have things to do. We all have things to do.
Absolutely.
But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to take a step back and be like, hey, let's focus on policy that helps people rather than things that make us feel bad or make us feel good.
Yeah. Now, if me personally, I don't want Trump impeached, only because I don't want his vice president to take over, because that guy's a psychopath. He scares the shit out of me. He scares the... if he legit still believes that you can electrocute gay people into being straight. I don't want that as the leader of our country. Yeah. That is terrifying to me.
So that's another thing.
I will take Trump being crazy all day long than a guy who has that mentality going into the top chair of our country. That's terrifying to me.
Yeah, and it's like some people, through all this turmoil, as we mentioned, there's some people that are more hurt by it than others. And just the reality is, we're getting all hyped up on this impeach him. Let's impeach him. It's like the election is a year away. Yeah. So what I don't want people doing, there are things that affect me. I don't want to see us just agitating half of the country so then they come out and vote for bad reasons. And just the reality is the things I care about, am I going to be able to marry whoever I want, whether it's man or woman? That's something that matters to me. But people are so hung up on inciting political catfights that they kind of forget that. And it's just there are victims to this kind of back and forth bickering. So it's hard to watch things happen like this, so I just try to do my best to talk to people.
I'm dreading election day. I really am. It's scary. It's really scary. I don't go near polls at that day. I don't talk about it because
they're bad.
Because it's just so ugly now. It really is. It's just so ugly. I'm generalizing once again when I say this, but it's one side is very pro, I believe this ancient book of the scrolls of the religion. I won't put it out there, but and then one's very hey, we should probably care about each other a little more. I mean, it goes I don't know. It just sucks, man. It really does. It scares me. Because how you were saying, it's just a tit for tat game at this point, and it's not. We're not progressing. We're not getting anything accomplished. We're not getting anything done. I tell people who are Republicans now, all right, I have a question. You're one of the biggest Democratic lines when Obama's in president is just hey, why don't you just support who your president is and let's get this done? And they're no, not a chance.
Yeah.
And now the shoes on the
communist.
other. Yeah.
He's born in Africa.
Yeah. And now the shoes on the other foot, and they're why don't you just support your president? And they're no. Now my question is now that we kind of had your tit for tat. Now, regardless of what happens this election, regardless of who wins, if it's a Democrat, will you support it? And they're nope. It's why are we even doing this? It's pointless to me. It just, I don't know. It's getting to the point where it just, to me, there's just 0 point in having a two-party system. I don't know. There's got to be something different because we're not getting anything done at any level, local level, top level. It just sucks. You know what I mean? People are it's going to take to the point where people are going to start dying at very young ages because they can't afford health care and they can't afford to, you know what I mean? I know people that are my generation, if I get really sick or something's really happening to me and they're I live paycheck to paycheck, just like most other people here do. And it's just I'm not going to the ER. That's a $400, $100 bill copay that I just can't afford. That's a bill for the month that now I have to work overtime because I was sick. You know what I mean? And you just don't go. And there's me going to the hospital could have caught something that could have saved my life 10 years from now. You know what I mean? Or anything. And that's scary to think. There's people dying that are going to be super young because no one has health care. No one has benefits. No one, there's a lot of crazy things, but all we're worried about is if a guy messed with the Russians. You know what I mean?
It's like, yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's like one of my good friends has diabetes, and it's just like,
and an insulin shot is crazy.
it's like $700 a month just to live, and it's just like, I don't have diabetes, so I can't imagine what that's like. But there are people out there who are like, oh God, I can't use all my test strips. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to get them again. And meanwhile, we're like, oh well, we need to do this. We need to get this guy out of office. Then we can start making changes. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that.
No.
Like, I've talked to Republicans who would, initially razz me, and they'd be like, well, I like you, but you're a Democrat. Why are you a Democrat? And I'd say something like, the reason I became a Democrat in the first place was gay marriage. Like, that was when I was young, I was a single issue voter, wasn't old enough to vote, but same thing. And they were like, well, I'm a Republican. I think that, gay marriage is fine. So I don't understand why you're a Democrat. And it's just like, we're pretty much on the same page with most things, but we just have this bad taste in our mouth from like national candidates that makes us hate things irrationally.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like we really, and like I know I'm biased too, and there's a lot of times where I have to take a step back and be like, okay, am I thinking rationally or am I thinking emotionally, like, snowflake? Mm-hmm. So it's tough, and I know it's tough, and it's not to ask people, especially with like low voter turnouts and our past history with politics, but we just gotta try to man up, suck it up, and try to think critically about things.
And it's there is politicians who are Republican and Democrat that do share each other's views on each side of the spectrum,
mm-hmm.
but we're at a point now where the line in the sand has been drawn so deep mm-hmm. that they can't, like, for someone to come out and say, like, I'm pro this even though it's not my party's agenda, but like, here's where I'm pro, but you at least talk to me and let's meet in the middle so we can meet them in the middle. Mm-hmm. Like, if you do that, you're not part of us now.
You're not a real Democrat. You're not a real Republican. And
it's not even about, like, strip all that title away. Strip away the title of Democrat, Republican, or blue and red. Mm-hmm. It's a formalized version of a gang, in my opinion. It really is. And it just strip away and just think of people as people and mm-hmm. not of what their affiliation is. And it just sucks. Like, me personally, like, I've been with my wife now 13 years, but we were together almost 9 before we even contemplated marriage. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things we said is we're not getting married till everyone's allowed to get married. That was something mm-hmm. we were passionate about. And then I'll never forget it. We were in Hershey Park, and the announcement came through on Facebook, and they're like, it's now legal in all 50 states. And mm-hmm. I looked at her, I was like, I guess next year's our year. Like, we're going to do this. And then I got really, really drunk at New Year's and had the worst proposal of all time, and she still never lets me live it down. I was just drunk in the front seat. I was like, are we getting married this year? And she's like, is that my proposal? I was like, sure. And then we were married in May. It was terrible. It was horrible.
Romance is dead.
Yeah, I killed it. I nailed it. But yeah, like, I don't know, there's so much ugly in the world, and we don't need to keep feeding into it. Just, if you're super passionate about something, like, obviously fight for it, because that is the American thing to do, is fight for what you believe in. But also, you need to have an ability to have common ground and middle ground. If you're just going to be throw a temper tantrum and say, if I don't get my way, there's nothing. You're not part of the problem. You're not part of the change. You know what I mean? And I'm always the person too that, like, I do believe in the Constitution. I think the Constitution is good. But also, there's nothing you're going to write on a piece of paper that's going to stand the test of time for over 300 years, or 200 years, 100 years. Times change, things change. Like even if you wanted to take up arms against your government right now, there is a ban on assault rifles at this point in time. Like, you can't be a normal everyday citizen and go get certain guns. Mm-hmm. You just can't. You need certain licenses, and you need to go through certain background checks. Like, you can't go out and buy a bazooka. You can't go buy a tank. So if you were to take up arms against, we're beyond that. You would never be able to overtop the government. Just being truthful. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's already been something that's been eliminated from you. Mm-hmm. Sure, if you want an assault rifle, fine, own one. But on the same token, it's gotta bug you that, especially if you have kids or you have someone who's like a family member or living in a city, like, it doesn't bother you when someone goes out and just shoots up 150 people. Like, regardless if you want your gun or not, like, you got to be like, all right, man, we got to figure something out here. Like, people are dying, like, mm-hmm. on a rapid level, like, mm-hmm. and you could turn around and say, that's just the media scaring you. Like, why don't you ban knives? Why don't you ban? Mm-hmm. Sure, like, but we got to figure something out if you just don't have the empathy to not want people to die, like, it's not about losing your guns. Listen, keep your guns. It's in your constitution. You have that right. Keep them. But we got to figure something out. Like, you got to at least, the people who have the decisions, who can figure stuff out, need to have a sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah. I think that's where, like, the culture thing comes into play, and not putting, like, what you believe on the other half of the population for spite, because, like, I'm a Democrat and I own an AR-15. So that has been a problem with, like, you know, friends. Like, you know, there's people you expect to support you no matter what. People who you think, like, oh, they wouldn't put me on blast just to score points with their friends. But, like, that's happened to me because I own an AR-15. It's like, you know, I'm in the military. Like, I don't just own it just for kicks. Like, I own it because I suck at shooting and I need to not suck at shooting. So I go practice with it. That's how I got it. But at the same time, it's like, I know when I have that gun, it's, like, scary to think about, like, I'm going to have the FBI knocking on my door. But so, like, the amount of people, like, you know, when you own that and all you need is one 30-round magazine, the damage you could do and nobody could stop you. Like, that's something we really need to talk about, is that anybody that owns an AR-15 at their leisure can load it and do horrible things with it.
But now, isn't the defense, because I did get criticism on this show before for talking guns, and I'm not educated on guns. It's technically not, an AR-15 in the public level is not an assault rifle, because it's not like you can hold a trigger and it'll unload the clip. It is like kind of like a pistol, where every time you pull it kind of shoots, right? Am I correct when saying that?
Okay. So I'm going to have to quote Jim Jeffries on this. It's like, at the end of the day, the argument for owning a gun is like, fuck off, I like guns.
Yeah.
And, like, as a gun owner, as an AR-15 owner, that's what it comes down to. Because people will say, oh, it's not a real assault rifle because it's semi-automatic. It's not full auto. And it's just like, listen, buddy.
It still has 30 clips, and it's, you know what I mean, you could still, like, but the same could be said for a pistol, too. Like, you can get a pistol with an easy 12 and just easily pop one in and keep going. You know what I mean? I just don't know the differences.
It's just, when people's defense is, okay, an AR-15 is fine because it's not fully automatic, it's just like, buddy, who uses fully automatic? It's like, when you're training with a rifle, you don't train with it on full auto because, first of all,
you won't be accurate.
It's not going to be accurate. The barrel is going to get all hot. You're probably going to hurt somebody like you care about before you hit the other guy. So that's conflating the issue. Like, what we care about is, like, this is a rifle. It can hold up to 30 rounds or more. You can get a bump stock, you know, get that bad boy set up, and you can take out a lot of people in a short amount of time. So what it comes down to is, you know, the risk versus the reward. And of course the reward is, you know, our Second Amendment, being able to do what you want and not have the government breathing down your neck. And of course the risk is people are going to take this and they're going to do dumb things with it. And it's just like, you know, you could do dumb things with a car.
Yeah.
But just like, people really need cars.
Yeah.
It's like, if somebody said to me, like, you know, okay, AR-15, you don't need an AR-15, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. Like, if someone breaks into my house, I'm not defending it with an AR-15. And I tell that to people who are gun owners, and they're like, well, that's why you have a handgun. Just like, yeah, that's why you have a handgun and not an AR-15. I think that's another Jim Jeffries thing. It's like, okay, someone breaks into my house. Hold on, buddy, I gotta load my magazine because it's not loaded all the time because I'm a responsible gun owner. Let me charge this bad boy and shoot you before you get me because I'm trying to defend myself here with my fucking AR-15. So it's not useful for safety in most safety situations. But yeah, you know, if you want to hunt zombies from up to 300 meters, yeah, that'd probably be a good solution.
I always, like, I don't know, like, I don't mind hunting rifles, I guess, because they're practical. I don't mind pistols. You can have all the pistols you want. Shotguns, it's like the Bill Burr skit. Like, I want a shotgun because you don't have to be aimed. You just point it over there, and everything in that area is no longer a problem.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get that. The AR-15, and I think in your situation, I don't mind someone like you having an AR-15 because you are training, because you are, you know, you're part of the servicemen. But also, you're going to have that people on the other spectrum like, well, how about the people that are in the service that suffer from mental things when they come back, and they're the one, like, it goes with anyone. Like, how people like, oh, you're giving teachers guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, a teacher could lose their shit one day, too. Like, anyone could lose their shit at any point in time with any object or any weapon or a pencil or a pen and stab and kill someone. But that's not statistically what is killing people at an alarming rate at this point in time. You know what I mean? And listen, and my opinion is a lot of these kids who are shooting up schools, it's not a gun issue. It's a social issue. Like
It's a mental health issue.
it is a mental health issue, and not even take a step further from the mental health issue. As someone who has worked with kids for a long time, I coached youth soccer for a long time. I've coached at the youth level from 9 to 15, and then I coached the high school level from 15 to 18. Every day when I walk to practice, I can tell when one of my players is having a go. And they're having a bad day. Whether they got picked on at school, they got bullied, they got picked on that day, things at home aren't great. And then I took a class that pretty much told me that if a student reports something to me, you have to take the next step. There's you can't just have a conversation and move on. Hey, I'm getting beat at home. Okay, I have to report that. And I think what happens is a lot of people that work with children and work with kids, they're like, I don't want the paperwork and I don't want to deal with the one. It's not my business. I'm just going to leave it alone. But it doesn't take much to go up to a child and say, hey, you all right today? And then they're like, yeah. And then what I would do is I'll break it down. Like, listen, you don't got to get into details, all right? Because I know that and we both have an agreement that if you say something you're not supposed to say, I had to report it. But I just want you to know that if you are going through something, I was a kid at one time too. And I think what a lot of the older generation forget is when they were a kid. And to sit down with that kid and just be like, listen, man, I love you, man. You're a good kid. And whether you're a boy or a girl, there's not a creepy level. It's like, I genuinely care about you as a person. And if you need to talk, listen, shit sucks in school. Like, you get picked on. People aren't always your friends. But once you get out of high school, things change. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take much to just to make someone's day better if they're not going through something. Like, you're going to tell me that most of those kids who went and shut up a school, there was no red flags there. Every single time that person went and shut up the school and they interviewed the kids in school, yeah, he was weird. He was strange.
He was weird.
Yeah. Well, then why don't you go out and talk to the kid? You know what I mean? Like, instead of just calling him the weird kid and keep messing with him, I'm not condoning what he's done, but that could be avoided. And that's at that point, it's not a gun issue. Obviously, he had that opportunity to get one because of his parents or whatever reason. But like that, just talk to a kid. Like, look out for one another as people. You know what I mean? And that's not even a political thing. That's just being a human.
Yeah, I think definitely. I was just listening to a podcast earlier talking about the mental health issues that specifically American men are faced with.
Yeah.
Now, it's not often that I hunker down and listen to something that focuses on the plight of men, but it did bring up a lot of good points. Like, the way we socialize men in America isn't conducive for mental health. We teach them you're not supposed to talk about your problems. Only pussies talk about their problems.
Yep.
You're not supposed to be really good friends with your guy friends. You're like how women. If I didn't have such a close relationship with my female girlfriends, I don't know what I'd do. And then this podcast is talking about how men are afraid to have that level of intimacy with their male friends because it looks weak, or they don't want to talk about their deep-rooted personal problems. So that manifests in different ways. Like, they either push it all onto their girlfriends or wives or whoever, their partners, so that way they have to deal with all their laundry, or they become ill. They don't know what to do. They turn to violence. They turn to drugs. It's something that I don't understand why some people want to argue with and say oh, well, they just need to suck it up. We need more physical discipline in our kids. We wouldn't have these problems. It's no, we need to
you don't beat a human. I always say would you hit your dog? And if you say yes, then fuck you.
Yeah, you're a dick anyway.
Yeah, but when you train, if you have a child, I don't have a kid. So once again, this is another conversation I have with people that they're like, you don't understand, you don't have a child. Okay, maybe. But me and my little brother are 11 years apart. So there is a point where I pretty much raised my brother.
Yeah.
Have I punched my brother? Sure. But did I ever hit him in the face or the head? Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think I've ever done that. I may have gave him a body shot or just kind of gave him a tap or just shook the shit out of him. Shake, kind of grabbing him and what the fuck? It's that was my thing. 'Cause I didn't want to hit my brother because I cared about him. But, as someone who was disciplined, not just, and it wasn't something that was regular by my parents, but I was disciplined by other people with hitting and violence and hit with objects like spoons and belts and whips and not whips, but belts and shoes and smacked in the face or my hair pulled. And all that did, just for me personally, and this is just me, it just made me more angry. And then when I didn't get things that I wanted, the only way I knew how to handle my situation was not talking. It was by violence. So if you did something I didn't like, I swung on you. And then it didn't take me till much, much later in life that boy, I need to reevaluate and readjust the way I think about things. There's words I said, I would use very derogatory homophobic words or words that, were just synonymous with a lesser. And then as I get older, I'm like, I don't want to say those no more. And not because I'm a pussy and I don't want to offend people. No, it's just because
They're dumb words.
They're dumb, and it shouldn't be something to lesser someone as a person either. Like, I do have slip ups where something, like, because it's just like, I always joke around with people when I would say, when I used to work at like American Eagle, and I used to work there for a while, and we'd all like guys be on the docks, and we'd be working, and they'd be like, Tony, and I was like one of the only white guys on the dock, and they're like, what can we like? If someone came up to you and called you like a honky or called you a cracker, would it offend you? I was like, not at all. Not at all.
Those words mean nothing.
White people laugh at that.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, well, what can you do to upset another white guy if like you're getting into a fight? And I said, call him the F word. And they're like, what do you mean? Because that's the only word that upsets another white dude. Like, there's nothing, like, they're just like, they have to defend they're straight. No, dude, I'm straight. Like, it's so weird, but that's just kind of how we're like, maybe not, I don't know if it's all around the world. I don't travel, but that's a Schuylkill County thing. You can see two kids getting in a fight in high school. What's the first word they're throwing out?
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And it's just, and that carries on your whole life. Like, I still have friends who use it, and if they're not doing it, like, and they don't even realize they're doing it, and it's being offensive to people who are gay. It's like a word. It's like the to them. You know what I mean? And it's like, yo, do you realize that what you're like breaking it down a little bit? And some people are like, you know what? I didn't look at that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not like a fun insult. It's like you are denigrating this person based on who they are, based on something they can't change. And people don't get that. They'll be like, oh, I'm not racist. I only use the N-word when, someone of color pisses me off. And it's just like, okay, so you only insult somebody on the basis of their race when they've done something to make you angry.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't personally like the word at all.
Yeah.
Listen, I will never tell another culture that they can't say it because they've adapted. Like, I understand the reason why they adapted that word, because it's kind of like how we use the word Yankee. We were like, you know what I mean? Like, it was a derogatory slang, and we kind of taken like, well, if we use it as a term of endearment, you lose that power in that word. So I understand why it's still used in culture.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't say it, and then when I see other like younger generations say it, and they're just saying it to just say it every other word, it's like you're making it like you're taking something. I don't know. It's
so tacky.
It is. It's
You're being extra.
Yeah, exactly. But we're just two white people talking about the
I know.
N-word
It's
right
like
now.
I know.
Let's glaze over that one real quick.
I know. It's just because we live where we live, so we have to listen to things like, oh, it means ignorant person. It's like the only ignorant person is you, because you don't know that Nigeria is a place, and that's, oh my God. So, yeah.
So we had some questions on Facebook, and one of them we kind of already answered. One of them was, as I lose everything. We're back. There we go. It said, does she find herself defending the Second Amendment right to fellow Democrats often or at all? And if she thinks there would be a ban on some type of called assault weapons, thank you and Godspeed. We kind of touched on that. It is something that you do, like you. Yeah. You kind of
people are jerks to me from both sides.
Yeah, you own one, but then you also feel that there should be something done in some sort of fashion.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to paraphrase. And then he said, I was going to glaze over this one, but when we talked about it before the cut, this is something you guys want to bring up because it's something that does happen in the world of politics.
Yeah.
And the next question was, and it is if she's single, I'm asking for a friend, hint, hint, pretty much him.
Yeah.
And if you're interested, you can go check out his Facebook page on the page here. So yeah.
Tempting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing about running as a young woman for political office is that you talk to a lot of people. A lot of weirdos, and people ask me, what's the number one question you get asked?
This blew my mind, by the way. When you told me this, it blew my mind.
The number one question I've gotten asked on the campaign trail is, are you single? And I don't say that to be like, oh, look at me, I'm Miss Thing. People are asking me that. I say that because it's just like, people don't care about politics. If I walk up to somebody, they're not going to give a single fuck about whatever I'm trying to sell. They're going to, focus on what comes natural. So that was like a whole thing, is just navigating people. And that's one thing that, as a woman was kind of hard to grapple with, was that like people will only pay attention to me as a politician for certain reasons. They'll be like, one dude literally told me like, I'll sign your petition, but you have to kiss me and pretend you like it. And
what?
So he was joking.
Wow.
But he thought that was a funny joke. Or it was one of those things where he's making a joke, but if I was like, yeah, he'd be all about it. So that's something I had to deal with and kind of glaze over.
Jesus Christ. I've been like, dude, I don't want your signature at this point. I'm just gonna
go fuck off, honestly. And that's another thing is people will do that. Like, you know, any woman in Schuylkill County can tell you go to a bar, people will try to holler. And like, I have a very short temper. I have very low patience. So people will do this, and you can't, when you're running for office, you can't be like, hey, go fuck yourself, buddy. Because then they'll
You'd probably get more votes, though, if other people see it. Because they like that shock value. If you were a Democrat who was like, oh, you're worried if I'm single? Well, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck
your votes
you,
would go
buddy.
through the roof. She's crazy. She's into it. She's an everyday person.
We'll chalk that up for the next election.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you can't be like, hey, go fuck yourself. I got to be like, excuse me, sir, have you considered going and fucking yourself? Because I can't afford to have him get on social media and be like, this hooker won't go out with me, or she was rude. People will do that.
If he went on social media and said, I asked such and such running for this office, if I only signed her, she kissed my thing and she told me to go fuck myself. If anyone agrees to that or not laughs at him, yeah. If I seen that, I would vote. I don't even vote, but if someone posted that to bash you, I would 100% run out and vote the next day.
This one fucking guy, he sent me a message. It was really provocative. He must have liked one of my pictures. He was like, oh, this feels so good while looking at your pictures. And I was like, you know what's really sexy? And then I sent him a link to the Register to Vote website and just like registering to vote. And then he blocked me. Just like, damn, I'm just trying my best here. But oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I follow professional wrestling a lot. That's another thing I'm very passionate about, and it's super interesting to when a girl wrestles, right? And obviously a lot of ring gear is very provocative, and I think a lot of it is designed for exactly what it's designed for at some points too, like because that's what they want. They need the attention to get over, because it just sucks that's the way we live in right now. Like if she came out in full covered up and wrestled and she was super good at it, nobody would give a shit. Yeah, they wouldn't care.
Got time for that.
But if her butt's hanging out a little bit and she's really good, they're like, she's really good and she has a really nice butt.
Yeah.
I'm a victim of that sometimes too. We were just at a show on Saturday, yeah, and the girl came out and it was just out of control. But she was also twerking in front of everybody, so I felt like it was okay.
Yeah, as long as you can find some empowerment in it, you know, she can make something out of it. That's what I'm all about.
100%.
Free
but
love.
they, when they post pictures, it's just a picture of them like in their everyday life, like they're not even in character anymore, and just like the bombardedness that they get, and like I couldn't imagine what their DMs look like. I couldn't imagine living in that world. Like I feel bad for women when it comes to that. Like you can't even go out and like kind of even dress like comfortable, or even if you want to feel sexy that day, you're like, oh, look at her, she's dressed and her things are all out. Like, who cares?
Yeah, she's
let them alone.
her. It's hot.
Yeah,
she's comfortable. Leave her alone.
Like, yeah, I get that a lot too. When I not get that because I don't dress super sexy, but no, I go out and I treat everyone exactly the same. Like I'm a hugger. Sometimes people don't like it, but that's like if I know you personally and we're friends, I do it with all my guy friends. It's kind of like one of those things too, where as guys we're designed to not show that affection. I've come to terms with that, and I've found other guy friends who have come to terms with that as well. Like I have no problem telling another guy friend I love you. I'm dead serious.
Oh my God.
Like I have guy friends that I do that with. Like, hey man, I love you. Like I give them the hug, and I'm like, all right man, love you to death. I'll even kiss on the forehead. Like I don't care. Like I'm comfortable with myself. And I genuinely care about that person. But I'll do the same exact thing to a female friend as well if we're on that level. Like I wouldn't go to a stranger and be like, I love you, because they'd be like, this guy's fucking weird.
Yeah.
But like if it's something that if you're someone I truly care about, but on the outside spectrum, people like go to my wife and are like, oh, he was over there hugging a girl. Yeah, like he's not cheating.
He does that.
Yeah, that's just he's a very like. Because I was that person who I was very angry. I had a chip in my shoulder. I didn't really care about people. And then when I got to the point like
relatable.
Yeah, I changed. Like I changed my way of thinking. And a lot of the posts too, where it's like a woman's not designed to change a man. Sometimes we need it. And the only time we can really do that is if we truly care about someone else more than ourselves. Now, is it cool if a guy goes out and just takes it out on his girl every day? Absolutely not. But if you find someone, whether you're a guy and a guy, a girl and a girl, but your job is, if you're in a relationship, is to help each other and help each other become better people and do that. And that's exactly what my wife did to me. Like she found a very broken individual, and I felt more strongly about her than I did even myself. And then realized I needed to make an actual change so I can meet that certain level. Like she cares about me more than I even care about myself, and I need to meet that on the same level, because if I don't care about myself, how can I care about her? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was something that we definitely like helped each other with. You know what I mean? And I think that's super cool. But
good for her.
Yeah,
I took a break from fixer-uppers. Like,
Yeah.
I put a lot of money into some people. Like,
Really?
some properties I did not get a return on investment from. So I guess the answer to that question is like, are you single? It's just like, technically, yes. But I'm old-fashioned. I like to be disappointed by one person at a time. So
Yeah.
I'm just playing it out right now. See how far this goes.
So the other question is, can you please ask her if she has a best friend, and if so, who is that person, and if she has any future plans for any future political plans?
Ah, yes.
So do you have a best friend?
Of course I do.
Do you have more than one? See, I did there.
You said you weren't going to ask these kind of questions. Oh, my God. Yes, my best friend who I actually only met on the campaign trail, only met her recently, but it's like, they say soulmates aren't necessarily the person you end up with romantically. Sometimes they're
Yeah.
friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happened because I was at a very sad time in my life when I met her. And she was just the yin and my yang or something. Oh, God, cultural appropriation. So she completed me very quickly.
yeah,
She's an
she-
extrovert. I'm an introvert. We kind of met in the middle. Her name is Jess Ivy. She's been there. Kind of meeting her made me realize a lot of things about myself, like what I should expect in like friendships and relationships. It's just like if I can get like this mutual respect and love for somebody with no other reason than like, I want them to be happy. Her success is my success. I just want her to be happy. Like, then I should expect that from other people and stop playing these games where it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to really hope that this works out in the end and, just emotionally drain myself in the meantime. It's like, I don't have time for that because there are good people out there and there are people who want to help and want to be helped. And you gotta find those people.
Yeah. My biggest thing that I always try to find is I always try like-minded people, whether you're Republican or Democrat, but I try to find like-minded people who are just all about making a change. I'm so over people who talk a big game. I'm over that. And it doesn't
Should I
have
just go then?
No. And it's not just like on a political level. It's not even on like it could be on a mental level. Like, hey, listen, like I want to be famous. I want to be rich. I want my band to be this, or I want to be in it. Like, or not even that. I'm talking about people who want to do projects but just don't have they don't have the guts to go out and do it. But also not as if they don't have the guts to do it, but they criticize everyone else who tries to do it.
Yeah.
That I don't have time for that anymore. Like
Yeah.
if all you do is just sit around and criticize and hate, please get up and make a change. Like if you're super passionate about something, go for it. And even if I don't even like what you're passionate about, I will respect the fact that you're trying it because it's not easy to do, to come out of your comfort zone and do that kind of things. So I'm all about people who create, people who are trying to do things like bands, musicians, people who are trying to change their community, who are just trying to make a positive influence. So that's kind of like a huge reason why I started this. I just want to find those gems in our community, which is, I think, and more the more we sit down. I'm very happy you came here because I think this is good.
Wow.
I think I hopefully people who are Republican side can hear your side and be like, you know what, like, I see her for more than just her political party. She has
great hair.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I see her for more than what she just is with a political party. She's, you're a veteran, like,
Yeah.
and a happy Veterans Day, by the way.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah. My little brother is actually serving. He's not overseas yet. He's just in San Diego. He's in the Navy as a corporal.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's like a medic guy. Like he thinks like
Oh, corpsman. He's a
corpsman,
corpsman.
not corporal.
I was
corpsman.
like, wait a minute. I'm
Corpsman.
like doing the math. He's a corpsman.
Corpsman, yeah. So he comes
Rough.
home and he's like, yeah, I got my 142 Alpha Delta Charlie, and he gives me, and I'm like, can you please talk in human terms? I don't
English.
understand. Yeah, like I don't. I play Call of Duty, but I don't understand when they say it either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he's doing now. I'm very thankful he has not have been deployed yet. That would scare the fuck out of me. But he comes home in December, so I'm pretty excited about that. When he told me, I was terrified. Like I understand why he did it, but like it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
It's my little brother. Like,
Yeah.
I don't-
Anything can happen.
yeah,
you know?
anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk to his recruiter, he'll tell you that like it's safer to be in Afghanistan than to drive a car on 61 or on the Burma or something.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
believe that at all.
All right, well that's fine. Maybe you're right. I never actually checked the math. I just signed the paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those recruiter guys are something else. There's actually a guy I met who, when he first signed, I was not super against it. I don't want to sound like I'm against the troops because it has to be done.
That would be real awkward. I'm pretty
No.
sure I'm closer to the knives than you are.
No. I'm not saying I'm like, but it scared me, like, because my little brother, and he's like, I understand why it's like those Army commercials where the mom's against it. She's like, Mom, this is what I want to do, and I'm
And
like,
her heart melts.
yeah, and her heart melts.
Grows 3 sizes.
So
or something.
it took me a little bit to get there. Like, I wanted to be supportive and be like, you know what, I'm happy what you're doing, and I was. But in the back of my head, I was like, man, fuck.
Wish you wouldn't.
Yeah, please. Like, but then I talked to this guy from Monte City, and he was in the service. I believe he was also in the Navy. His name is RJ, but he honestly, like, he told, like, he boiled it down a lot more and, like, explained to me what he's going through and what he's going to do when he comes home and all those different things. And he's like, listen, man, like, yeah, you're going to do some things and you're going to go into war and you're going to experience things, but you're going to see the world. Like, you're going to do things that most people in this area are never going to experience. And then, like, sitting down and talking to him, I looked at him, I was like, are you a recruiter? And he's like, no. I'm like, you fucking should be. Because he was realistic too. He was like, listen, man, like, this can happen, but here are the positives to this as well. I mean, if anyone's listening and you're looking for a recruiter, go check out, if you need the name, message me. I don't want to put his whole business out there, but he was, dude, he put me at ease, like, as someone who's like, he understood where we come from. Like, we're a family he's the first member of, like, at all. Like, my dad didn't serve, my mom didn't serve. My mother's side came from, like, an army, so, like, like, people, servicemen.
Yeah.
But that was about, it was just like the men just did it. Like, she was mostly came from a bunch of, like, all sisters. He had 2 brothers, but one brother served, and then her father served. But on my dad's side, it was really none of that. So it was different. It was a complete culture shock. It's like, oh my God, here goes my brother. He's gonna go shoot. And, like, he was like, and then he told me, he's like, I'm gonna be in the Navy. And I was like, he'll be on a boat.
Wow.
We'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll be good.
You thought, not a corpsman.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm gonna be a corpsman. I was like, what's that
the
mean?
one thing.
And he's like, oh, that means I'm gonna be with the Marines, and I'm gonna
Just
be like,
chilling.
and I'm gonna be like their medic. And I was like, they shoot medics too. And he's like, yeah. I was like,
Especially the medics.
yeah, like, you fucking psychopath. Like,
Oh my God.
you couldn't even handle watching yourself get a blister.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be fixing bullet holes. But he said he does an amazing job at it. So
Okay.
yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, it scared the fuck out of me when he told me. What branch are you in?
I am in the Army. I'm a reservist, so let's not get crazy.
Yeah. No, have you, like, how long have you been?
I've only been in 2 years. The thing about the reserves is typically there's a rotation every 5 years or so you're supposed to deploy. Thankfully, mine did not, because if they had, I would have been legally ineligible from running for office. So, so that's the reality. A lot of people are even in active duty, and they just never deploy. And, you could still serve your country without ever actually deploying. Now, I do hope to deploy at least once in my career, depending on how long I last. But that's what it is. You write a blank check, and you just hope for the best. You see how it goes.
My cousin Johnny is in the reserves. Johnny Stife. He's from around here.
That sounded familiar,
Yeah.
and then I forgot.
Yeah,
No,
Johnny
no.
Stife. Actually, that's him right there on the fridge. The guy with the shaved head.
Yeah, it would be shaved.
Yeah. He's actually getting married in December, and I believe after his wedding is when he gets deployed. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Aw.
But I love that kid to death. That's like my little cousin,
God.
but he's a good dude. But he's also in the reserves, but he's getting deployed soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrifying.
I tell you, that the military, man, the hardest I ever cried was on graduation day. So I don't know if you know this, but, like, the Army, you do basic training, and you don't talk to your family. You get, like, some phone calls, but you really don't talk to them. And then your family can come visit you on graduation day. Now, my dumb ass didn't think I was going to graduate because I suck at everything. And I'm not used to being bad at things.
Were you athletic and stuff going into this?
No, not at all. Not at all. I was president of the debate club. I just did it for kicks. I thought it'd be fun, get college paid for, all that jazz. And then we're doing, like, the initial physical tests. And
You're like, I can't even do a push-up.
Still can't. I still can't. I've been in, like, 3 years. So, yeah, I was just
awesome.
bad. Yeah, my drill sergeants, they made it a point to be like, yeah, you're dumb, heifer. Like, I don't know why you did this. And I'll be like, I don't know either, drill sergeant.
Did you get a nickname while you were there?
I don't think I did. No.
So it's not like Full Metal Jacket where everyone gets a unique nickname?
No, it's not like that. There's way too many people. It's like a factory at this point, just part of the war machine. So, funny story, my mother did not think I was actually going to join. And my boyfriend at the time also didn't think I was going to join. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to join the Army. And they're like, bullshit. And then I was just like, hey, I signed the paperwork. And they were like, you did what? So I told them my tales of woe while I was in basic training, and then they were like, it's not looking too good. And I didn't think it was looking too good because I cried to the chaplain. And you got to understand, the chaplain is like the most touchy-feely person who you're going to meet in the Army. And I was just like, I don't think I can do it. I don't understand. I've never been bad at anything. And he's just like, listen, kiddo, not everybody's cut out for the military. And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting like, oh, this is what you need to do. Get your life together. And he's just like, listen, if you fail, you fail. No hard feelings. And it's like, damn, reality. But by some miracle, I got my shit together and I moved on with my life. And now I'm still in. They still haven't kicked me out yet. And yeah, it's just like, you know, being like a college graduate. I went in with my college degree, which is like backwards. But it was
you did college first, then wow.
Yes, I did college first and then went in, and I didn't go in as an officer, which made a lot of people very unhappy with me. They were like, wow, it was a really dumb move. And I'm like, you know what, it was a dumb move, but moving forward.
You did it, though.
Yeah.
And then you'll never get that taken away from you.
No.
You did it.
No.
So I was diagnosed with a joint disorder at 16. I have what's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, where I have hyperelasticity of the joints, where my body doesn't produce collagen. I was very, very athletic. I was in great shape. I could run all day long. I could do as many push-ups as you needed. I was in great shape. And I was like, you know what?
Can't relate.
I think I'm going to join. I think I'm going to enlist. And I kind of I did it because I wanted to get out of the area. I didn't have the best relationship with my parents. The only reason that was keeping me in this area at the time was my brother. And I was like, you know what, though? Like, here's my theory. The way I was told by the doctors is I probably have until they all told me I have till about I'm 28 in the 28 to 32 year old range where your body's just going to fall apart. So I thought every time I go to the doctor, though, no one ever had it on record that, like, I had to keep explaining to them that I was diagnosed with this, and they never could find it. And then I had to go do the test all over again. It was annoying. So I was thinking to myself, like, I'll just enlist.
Yeah.
If they're not finding it, other doctors, I'll be good. And I was. I first one I tried out was for, I think it was the Air Force. I did Air Force, and I was gonna go like sign the paperwork and get everything going and get started. They called the house to message me to like have the meeting and sit down, and I was gonna do the meeting at school. Is that still in high school? Because I didn't want my mom to know. Because college visits weren't going great. They wanted me to do like a 4-year college, and I was like, I want to do a 2-year college. Like I'm not a book smart guy. Like I'm book smart, but if I'm not interested in the topic I'm into, I'm gonna fail.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be like an artist. Like I wanted to cartoon and do stuff, and they're like, that's stupid. You're not gonna do that. You're gonna go to plumbing and heating, and I hated doing that too. So I enlisted, and then I did not get the phone call from my mom. And she spilled the beans. She's like, oh, he can't go. He has this. I was like, fuck. Right? And they're like, all right, whatever. And just hung up the phone and never called back. And then I tried the reserves, and everything was good. Like, it was going down. And the same thing happened. They called, and my mom answered the phone. And she's like, what's going on? I was like, who is it? And she goes, I don't know. And I told them when they said, like, when they call, do not speak to my mother. She's going to lie to you, right? And then when they talked to her, I told, like, my mom's like, who is this? I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. And she goes, is this like and she fucking, he has a disorder. He can't even do a push-up. And they're like, oh, all right, thank you, ma'am. And hung up the phone. And that was the end of me trying.
Oh my God.
Yep. And now I'm 32 and my body's falling apart. You
could have gotten there at 22 if you had joined.
Yeah.
See,
yeah. I could have at least got 5 years in.
Yeah.
And then if they would have found it while I was in there, I'd have been like,
oh my God, service related.
Exactly,
You'd be in the money.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
She fucked it over for me.
Yeah, you could have been a disabled veteran right now. You could have had the parking spot, the free meal at Logan's, but
yeah,
no.
I could have worn I would have been able to wear camo. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I like wearing camo, man. I have a jacket I got at the Salvation Army. My wife hates when I wear it. It's like, it looks like a homeless guy's jacket. Like, it was like there's cigarette burns in it.
Wow.
But the reason I like it is it reminds me of Charlie Day from Always Sunny.
Oh my God.
Like his jacket he wears. Like, and I love it. Like, it has cigarette burns and stuff in it. It's super comfortable. And it's very light. And I love it, but she hates when I wear it. She's like, people are going to be like thinking you're. I'm like, I don't care what they think.
They're going to think you're a homeless veteran.
Yeah.
They're going to thank you for your service.
Camo doesn't mean you're a military person. Like, I could just be like a hunter. Like, people wear bomber jackets, right?
Yeah.
I'll be getting a stolen valor video. I'll be on YouTube.
Yeah.
People are into that. Like, you ever get into YouTube spirals where you just?
I may have once or twice.
What are some of the craziest YouTube spirals you got into? We're gonna go way off topic now.
Okay. Cat videos, Jeffree Star videos.
Who's Jeffree Star? I mean, I'm being serious. I don't know who Jeffree
Okay,
Star is.
so he's like a makeup artist. He's like
Oh
super
my god,
sassy.
I do know. I heard of him.
I fucking thought so.
Yeah, he'll make himself look like a female, like in a heartbeat. Like he's super good at what he does. Right? Is that the same guy I'm
he
thinking
looks
about?
like he's feminine.
Yeah.
He's feminine like 24/7.
Yeah,
he's
but
beautiful.
he's really good at doing makeup.
He's so good at doing
yeah,
makeup.
I
Oh my
100%
God.
know who you're talking about now. I just didn't know him by
So,
name.
Fucking love him, not just for the makeup, but because his like takes on things are fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've watched Stolen Valor videos. Like, you know, just be like, this motherfucker, I went through, you know, fucking basic, and this guy's acting.
They're like,
all,
where did you live? What was your address? Oh, it was 3.
then-
It doesn't go to 3. I know, I was there.
yeah, oh my God. That's great. The military reunion videos, oh my God, I cry.
Is that when like someone sneaks home? Or they come home and they don't
Yeah,
tell?
and they surprise.
Did you see the new one on Jimmy Kimmel?
No.
Or Jimmy Fallon?
Wait, I might have.
Where he played the whisper game, and the girl was like, it's a wife and husband, and they're in the service, and the wife came down, and she was like, I don't like they had it set up that her seat was the one to come down and play the game, and the whole audience was service members, and she was like, she literally refused to get out of her seat. She's like, I'm not going down there. And they're like, you have to go down. They're like, oh shit, I'm not going. And she's yelling from the thing, just pick another number. And they're like, we can't, because we're like, this is a
Yeah.
setup. So she ends up coming down, and she's just like not into it. And they play the whisper game where they put the headphones on, and he whispers something, and he has to guess what they're saying. So they each do a round. And the second round, Jimmy Fallon goes, your husband's right behind you. And then she's like, what? And my husband, is behind me. And she goes, what? And she takes her headphones off, and he's there. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I got dirt in my eyes a little bit on that
God.
video. Yeah.
Oh.
I think the dog ones get me the most. When
Oh
someone comes
my
home and the
God.
dog loses it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My little brother thought he was gonna get that with his dumb dog, and it didn't care. Like his dog didn't give a shit. We came home from the airport. They have a boxer. The boxer was more excited to see me, and he didn't see him in almost a year and a half. He was so pissed.
And my cat missed me. I came home. I was still in uniform. I like dropped my stuff on the floor. And this little orange tabby, first of all, he was terrified of me. And then he kind of realized what was going on. And then he fucking lost his mind. His tail was all puffed. He was like climbing up me. I was just like, damn right, you fucking missed me. And then
That's
the
awesome.
other cat didn't care. So I took her to the pound. So, you know what? She learned a lesson. Hopefully your next family and service member.
Did you really take your cat to the pound that day?
No,
Oh.
I didn't.
I was just like, oh my god,
Thought about it though.
terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a cool thing that I just got. So these are called pod decks. All right, so I got these on a website. I used to do a thing called the box, and the box is like an old cooking recipe book, and we wrote questions in it, but it didn't take off very well. I thought people were gonna like also add questions to it, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So this is the episode deck. So if you guys want to check this out, if you are a podcast or you're looking to start a podcast, and you're like, how do we think of ideas to do a show? Well, you have your episode deck. And this deck here is if you just draw a card and be like, oh, today's episode we are going to top 10 moments on the podcast. If maybe if you're a brand new podcast, that card wouldn't work. It would work for me because I've just hit a year. So I could tell my top 10 favorite interviews if I really wanted to. We won't get into that right now. But they also have an interviews deck where it's loaded with 50 questions. And so what we're going to do is you're going to pick one. It's your own fate.
Is this your card?
This is going to be your card, so you're going to answer this question.
Which living person do you most admire? Fuck, it's gonna have to be Jeffree Star. That might be
Jeffree
because
Star.
you're just talking about him, but like he's got a makeup line. I just love the way he fucking talks to and about people.
Yeah.
Like it's empowering when he's just like can't relate, and I'm just like that is so relatable. Like when somebody's doing some crazy shit, just like can't relate. Moving on, moving forward.
We're going to do 3 of them.
Okay. If you can instantly become one, what would you want to be an expert in?
Ooh.
See, this is tough because my heart says some kind of foreign language because I'm a softie and I like foreign languages.
Do you
But
know any now?
So
I can barely speak English, let alone learn another one.
Yeah, learn languages is my John. I took 4 years of French in high school, and then I continued taking it in college. I took a couple semesters of German. I went to school in Germany for a little semester.
German
thinking-
scares the fuck out of me.
You should be scared.
Yeah, when they talk, it just sounds like they're going to hurt
superpower.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only thing in
Yes,
French I
man.
know is that song. That Voulez-vous.
Voulez-vous coucher
Yeah.
avec moi ce soir?
And that means I want to take you home tonight or something
Will
like
you
that.
go to bed with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classy.
The only French I know.
Oh, well,
I watched the
what
movie.
more do you need? Avez-vous un protectif? That means, do you have a condom? I'm going to Paris next week, so I got all my bases covered.
You're gonna kill it over there.
Yeah, oh my
You're gonna
God.
do
They're
so
gonna be
good.
like, oh, hit
and
me
then, if they get out of line, then you speak German to them.
You're like, ich verstehe das nicht.
I heard
Why?
I don't know if this is a true story or not, but I heard this one story where I guess during the first, I think it was Obama administration when we were doing our first like bombing run. The one we were just dropping bombs on people. I don't remember exactly what the whole situation. Yeah, I guess a plane was flying over French airspace, and they were like, "You're not supposed to be on this thing." And they're like, "We're having mechanical issues. We have to land." And they're like, "No," and they're like, "Listen, you don't have a choice. We're landing our plane here. Like, we don't have a choice." So they land it, and I guess this can all be bullshit, but if it's not, it's still kind of funny to me. So they land the plane, and all the French people run up to the American pilot, and they're like, "You can't be doing this. Yours is terrible. We don't want to be involved in this war." And he just looked at me and goes, "Sprechen die Deutsch?" And they say no,
God.
but he goes, "You're welcome. Now I'm gonna fix my plane now."
Oh, damn.
Yeah, savage move. Savage history class.
Oh, my God.
All right. So yeah, what was the other? I was gonna say something else. Oh, you ever watch Inglourious Bastards?
No, I want to,
It's
though.
a really good movie. A lot of the movies in German, English, and French. It's pretty crazy. A lot of it's subtitles.
Yeah.
It's really good though. Yeah.
I'm not that fancy. Yeah. I like money, though. I'd probably pick something not foreign languages. Probably something that makes money.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What's the favorite thing you bought this year?
Favorite purchase of the year?
Oh, not including food.
Are you a big eater?
Oh, my God, yeah.
What's your favorite things to eat? Like if you could only eat 4 things for the rest of your life, what would they be?
All right, all these questions. Ribeye steak, macaroni and cheese. What else do I like? Lobster bisque from Roma. Chicken bacon ranch pizza from Suglia's. Got my 4 food groups. I'm good.
You know what's great? My wife like the Schuylkill's at the mall. That's now in Shenandoah. Right? That you're talking about? Schuylkill's?
Schuylkill Haven.
I didn't know there was one Schuylkill Haven. There used to be a Schuylkill's at the Frackville Mall.
Oh, there was. I remember those
Is
days.
that the same one?
I don't know. I don't ask questions.
They
Just
had
take their pizza.
They had amazing chicken bacon ranch. It was my wife's favorite chicken bacon ranch. Was also Schuylkill's at the mall. Mine would be pizza, burgers, pierogies. I really like pierogies. And probably ice cream. They'd be my 4. But I can eat burgers and pizza all day. Oh, actually, remove pierogies, chicken parmesan.
Yeah.
I love chicken parm.
Chicken parm's good. Not like real chicken parm. I make the like chicken patties with like the mozzarella cheese and like the tomato sauce. All right, so not counting food, it'd probably be my impulse buy to a flight to Paris, because I was just like, listen, this is going to be in November. Probably going to lose this election. I'm going to need a pick-me-up. And my pick-me-up was a trip to Disneyland in Paris by myself. So
You're going by yourself?
I'm going by myself. Everybody gets all shocked. Like, yeah, people do... Fancy rich people do that all the time. You don't hear them crying about it. I'm just going by myself. I'm not rich, so I'll be like roughing it. But, hopefully I don't get mugged.
What's the difference between Paris, Disney World, and Florida, besides in another country?
So, not a whole lot. I found out, like, the rides are the same. There's a Space Mountain, only it's like Mountain d'Espace or something because it's French. It's like all the rides are the same, almost the same. It's just like the same thing. It's just like low toner Space Mountain, low toner Parts of the Caribbean. It's really just a flex at this point because,
Now, are you a big Disney fan?
Oh, my God, yes.
Do you realize tonight at midnight?
It's Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't buy it.
didn't
Isn't
get
it
it?
expensive? How much is it?
I think it's so. I don't have cable, right? So I'm
Who
poor.
does? Who has
so
cable?
I do Hulu.
In this economy?
I do Hulu, and I do the Hulu Live TV for like $30. Now, if you have a Hulu account, you can add on Disney Plus for like $7.99 a month.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Now, the dog that you met, who barked at you like an asshole because she's a jerk.
I have that effect on people.
What really would have happened if Heidi wasn't home? She would have just came in and kept smelling you, and if you would have just completely ignored her like she didn't exist, by the end of the interview, she'd be your best friend. She does warm up to females a lot quicker than guys.
I want a friend.
Yeah, and she'll usually I don't know, I can't tell on that side table. There's usually like 15 toys over there because she just keeps bringing more and more toys in. That's all she does the whole interview. She just brings toys in. Yeah, so they're her babies. So she doesn't, like, you know how dogs take toys and they chew them up and destroy them?
Yes.
She treats them like they're children. Like if you squeak a toy, she thinks you're hurting it, and she cries like, "Please give me it back." And then she takes it off you, and then hides it, and then brings a ball or a rope, something that doesn't make noise. Like stuffed animals, she doesn't tear them apart. She keeps them in like they're her babies.
And mint condition. I'll just put this back.
Yeah, I mean it's probably slobbery, but yeah, but so that's pretty crazy. But her name is Lady from Lady and the Tramp.
Oh my God, gets me every time.
And that's going to be the first movie on the network. It's going to be a live action Lady and the Tramp, and every animal in the movie is an actual shelter dog, or a shelter dog or cat. They're all from shelters.
God, I'm gonna start crying. It's so nice. There's so much.
Are you gonna give
good
my
in the
over
world.
moment right now?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I'm pretty big into Disney as well. What are some of your favorites?
Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid?
Little Mermaid. Beauty and the Beast is pretty all right.
Little Mermaid's very high on my list. Not many guys say that.
Yeah. Why
See?
is that?
I'm very in touch with myself.
Prince Eric?
I can care less about
They're
Prince
intimidated.
Eric. No, I can care less about Prince
Ariel's
Eric.
the best. Why?
Ariel-
Because the woman doesn't talk most of the movie? Is that why?
That is a great answer, but no. I didn't even think of that. You just made it so much better. I think it has some of the best, like, everyone says Lion King. I'm sorry, Little Mermaid's got the best music.
I want to be a part of your world.
Yes. Sebastian's fucking amazing. What's the seagull's name?
Golly, I don't know.
Yeah, it's all right, but he's cool.
not important.
But Ursula is fucking phenomenal. Like if they make that into a live, they are making it into a live action. I want like a big fucking CGI. Like I want
Tentacles.
her like huge,
Japanese
scary as fuck.
style.
Like I want them to have like backlash because Ursula's too scary.
Yeah?
Like that's how I want that movie made.
Go that hard, huh?
Yeah, I want her to be terrifying.
I definitely... Ariel's gotta be the best princess, because if you've ever played Kingdom Hearts, you know she's one of the I think the only princess, like Disney princess, that didn't get her ass snatched by fucking Maleficent. Like she helps you in her world.
Really?
She swims around and she helps you fight the bad guys. Snow White got kidnapped. Alice from Wonderland got kidnapped. Jasmine got kidnapped. Like y'all are useless.
Did Mulan? Well, Mulan's not a princess.
She wasn't in.
She's technically not a princess
She's
either.
a badass bitch, but yeah, she wasn't in the first one.
They're making a live action Mulan as well.
Yeah, with no singing and no Mushu.
Yes. No Mushu.
No, I heard no Mushu.
That's bullshit.
It is.
That's fucking stupid.
We were robbed.
Who? All right. Are you pressed for time? Are you good?
No, do I look like I have friends?
All right.
Yeah, I'm super glad that there's this table, because before this, post-election's been rough, and I was just eating nachos in the Taco Bell parking lot by myself, and I got cheese all over my pants. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
Like, oh, I'm gonna look like an asshole.
You're cheesy.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad this worked out. I don't have anywhere to be.
Yeah. Who, in your opinion, we're gonna do some just off the wall questions here. Unless you have anything else political like you want to talk about.
I don't think so.
If it comes to your mind, you can just throw it in there.
We'll touch on that at the end. Yeah.
Who, in your opinion, is the most evil villain in Disney movies?
All right, I'm gonna
be honest. There's no one you're gonna say that I'm gonna agree with unless you say the one I'm thinking of. So, and then I'm gonna change your mind of why when you're done.
So I am a fur coat aficionado. I own several.
Okay.
I feel bad about it though. So Cruella de Vil is some hardcore shit. Not only does she wear fur, but she skins those motherfuckers herself. Like I have a rabbit coat. I could not look a rabbit in the face and then skin it and then wear it. Like that pushes it for me. But like I'll wear the fuck out of my rabbit fur vest though.
All right. So first off, I want to congratulate you because you are the only human being who thinks like I think in this
Are
process.
you serious?
Cruella de Vil is the most evil.
She's cutthroat.
Now, the reason, my opinion, exactly the same reason you did, but I'll take it the next step further. Almost every villain in a Disney movie wanted power or something of value. Like I wanted her voice because she can sing, but she also wanted to take over the throne.
Trident,
yeah, she wanted to try to. Everybody wanted some type of power. She just wanted dead puppies.
That's fine.
It doesn't get any more evil than that.
Yeah.
Like I just want all the dogs dead.
Yeah, especially the cute, soft ones.
Yes,
like
I want a fucking Dalmatian jacket, and I will not rest until all 101 of those dogs are on
dead.
a jacket.
First of all, that's a big. I don't know how much like square footage of puppy fur you get from a Dalmatian puppy, but that seems like at least 2 coats.
Yeah, well, in case she needs a backup one. Or she wants one with like a big tail, maybe like a trail. Not a tail.
Oh,
trail.
that would be.
Unless she makes
nice.
one of a bunch of tails too.
I know. Now you got me thinking about like my next one. Just kidding. I'm poor. I can't buy one. But
Do you wear like the fake fur too, or it has to like? Are you like no? I'm bougie.
No, I'll wear. All right, I'm not that bougie. I like to put on airs. So I have my fur coat. Both of them, like my two real ones, are coyote and raccoons. First of all, fuck coyotes.
Are you sure you're Democrat?
Shut up.
You like dead animals, and you own an AR-15.
Fuck coyotes. Coyotes are rude, and then the raccoons. Raccoons.
They are adorable.
Jerks.
But they will fuck you up.
But they will fuck you up. They will eat kittens. Like, I wouldn't wear a cat fur coat, but I'm digressing here. They were not originally mine. They were my mom's, and that's the thing. These fur coats have been with me for forever. They've been in the family for forever. So it's like, if I buy a fake coat from Forever 21, I'm going to wear it. It's going to get all fucked up because it's made in China with, like, slave labor. And then I'm going to throw it out. It's going to be in a landfill.
Probably dog.
Probably dog. Might even be real dog. They'll say faux fur, but it's just like, faux
I watched one of those videos online. I was like, oh, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here.
The bad part of the internet again.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that was one of my YouTube spirals where it's just like, hey, did you ever see how faux fur is made in China? And it's just like, it was like a bunch of dogs in cages, and like the one dog literally has no skin. It's just like, it's alive. It's just like,
oh my God,
freaking the fuck out. I was like, I gotta get out of here.
It was real fur the whole time.
Yeah, it was real fur. It just wasn't the animal you thought it was. Mm-hmm. I knew someone who, when I worked at my one job, my very first factory job, they were trying to get people to go over to China and work with people and try to get them to, like, they're going to build a factory there, and they needed people to go over and help them run the machines. So I was supposed to be picked, but I didn't, which sucked. I really wanted to go. But somebody went over and came back, and they were like, they didn't come back to work right away. Like, they were pretty fucked up. And they're like, I'm like, where is that person? And they're like, all right, here's what happened. She went over to China, and she went into a pet store. And she was like, oh my God, I always wanted a Pomeranian, but over in America, they're super expensive. So she goes to China. She sees this cute, like, how much is that doggy in the window? And she's like, I want the Pomeranian. They're like, cool. We got to there's some language barrier translations. So, like, come back tomorrow, and we'll work out everything, and
I don't like where this is going.
And we'll give you your dog. And she's like, awesome. And so she calls. She gets everything arranged on her flight that she's going to be bringing a live animal back with her.
I'm already
gets
depressed.
Everything set up. She goes back. You're already teary. I just spit. I'm sorry. She goes back the next day, and they handed her a box. It was the meat of the dog. It was not a pet shop. It was a butcher. So then in her head, she's like, I picked that dog
to die. I
And-
sentenced him to death.
Yeah, and she was really upset about it. Yeah.
That could happen to anybody.
I would have been arrested in the country at that point, because I would have been like, I got to fight you now.
Yeah. I have to throw hands on behalf of this dead Pomeranian.
Yeah, so that was I'm glad, kind of in that way, I'm glad I didn't go. But yeah, so have you ever gone to Disney in Florida?
Yes.
I only ever went to Disney once. That was like the only outside state vacation I've ever taken. Actually, no, I've only been to like 3 different vacations. I don't travel very often, but one of them was Disney. It was fucking awesome. I took it all in. I was like 22 years old.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm gonna be a fucking 8-year-old while I'm here.
People waste Disney vacations on like 3-year-olds. It's like, that 3-year-old will not appreciate
Never.
this. That 4-year-old won't appreciate it. 8-year-old, maybe. But oh my God, when you're a teenager, all right, maybe not a teenager, but when you're like a grown adult and you know how much shit costs, like, that is like a godsend.
Yeah. I think the coolest thing I did when I was in Disney, there was 2 things. And I don't know if a lot of people even know about this, because we didn't find out about it until like our second day there. The pins. The trading pins. Did you ever get into that?
No, because I don't have a lot of money.
Oh my God. So we got into that, and it was out of control. I actually left with some pretty good ones. You good?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just like, some no-name. All right, if they're not saved as a name and they're just phone numbers, it's just like, what the fuck does this person want? Just like, yeah, bullshit. What are you doing? Just like, fucking minding my business.
I'm
Leave me alone.
podcasting.
I'm podcasting. I just had to make sure it wasn't someone like, hey, this is your landlord, your house burned down or something.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah, my life's been crazy lately. So,
Yeah.
you never know.
Is it? Are you like? Are you taking the selection thing like tough? The loss? I feel like underline you kind of are.
Well, here's the thing, and this is where this gets very serious, is like, politics is politics. Everybody goes in wanting to win. because like that's, everybody wants to win. But I'm not dumb. I knew the odds weren't good. Having lost already, I had a foot up. But one thing that they don't tell you, well, that you should just assume is just like everybody knows your business. Now, one thing I don't really talk about is like I'm a victim of domestic violence. I got like emancipated when I was 17 because my father was crazy. So I haven't talked to him since. But he's super nuts. Like stalkery, shows up to my job. He's just not a nice guy. We don't need to get into those details. So election night rolls around. I fucking lost. And I'm like, shit, I lost, but it is what it is. We all lost. It happens. Moving on. And this lady comes and she's like, listen, I met your dad today. And she's like, you met my what? I didn't even think he lived in the state. And she was like, yeah, he stopped by headquarters and, he was asking how my daughter's doing. And we were like, who's your daughter? And he's like, Catherine. And apparently, like, they were telling him, like, oh, your daughter's such a great person, which is mortifying to hear after the fact. And I'm like, wow, it's good thing I wasn't there because it would not have been good. A couple minutes later, this man, God bless him, came up to me and goes, hey, I brought your dad. And I'm like, excuse me?
Holy fuck.
So I don't look over. I just go to the person next to me. I'm like, is there a man standing at the door looking at me? And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, let's fucking do this. So I get into a screaming match with him. I'm like, listen, you shouldn't be here. You know exactly why you shouldn't be here. I'm going into the details about why I don't talk to him exactly. The dude that brought him here is flipping out. Like, oh, I got to make this right. Eventually the police have him removed. And it's just like, when something like that happens, I start crying because I'm upset, I'm emotional. Everybody thinks I'm emotional because I lost an election. It's just like, which is hurtful on a level because it's just like, I'm not dumb. I knew I can lose an election. That's one thing. But what hurt more was that, like, I was living my best life, hanging out with my friends, making the best of the moment. And then this, like, brutal reminder from my past of, like, everything I've been through shows up and is, like, demanding to talk to me. It's just like, nothing is sacred. Nothing is safe. And
are you still close with your mother at all?
Yeah, no, my mom and I go visit my mom. She lives in Florida. And of course, she went through the same things I did with my dad. So we have that level of understanding. But it's just like,
how long, unless you don't want to get into it, like how long?
Oh, I'm an open book.
how long was the situation between you and your dad since like it went down and you stopped talking?
So it was all through childhood, and it's like one of those things where it's like when you're a kid, what you think is normal may not be normal.
100%.
Yeah, and I ended up telling like my high school English teacher, like, listen, this is what's happening at home, and she's like, oh, that's not fucking good. So I went through the children and youth process. They were like, listen, if you want to, there's nothing we can do because like we can't talk to you without your parents' permission. Did not occur to them that I had a mother that they could have asked and I could have avoided the whole thing. They're like, yeah, you got to get a job. You got to move out. You got to do this. Good luck, kid. So I did. And I moved on with my life.
And how old are you this time? You were 18?
I was 17 at the time. I moved out when I was 17. And I had to have a job, had to have my own apartment, had to have like all this money put together like ahead of time. And one day, like he came screaming into my room and I was just like, yep, I'm doing it. I'm leaving the next day. I can't do this anymore. So that's what I did. And, a lot of people say, well, it made you into the person that you are today. And it's just like, at what cost, though?
Exactly.
It's like we talk about, like, the mental health issue and what kids go through. And it's like, I'm fortunate that I had, like, an English teacher that had my back, a French teacher that was super cool. I had all these people who were there to support me. But it's like, kids don't always have that. And it's like, I'm lucky, again, that, like, people steered me toward college. I joined the Army, got my life together. But it's like, how many kids do you hear about that, like, had a rough up? Yeah, they give up. They do drugs. They do some crazy shit.
Going back to the male statistic thing, is a lot of those guys sadly commit suicide.
Yeah,
male suicide rate is out of control. It's horrible. It sucks. Now, not to I don't want to sound like I'm playing devil's advocate or condoning anything. So I don't know the details of it. But is there a part of you that says like, maybe I should just hear him out and maybe he's changed and he's trying to make that change? Because I do know there's situations where it wasn't to the same extreme. I don't want to compare.
Oh, yeah, no.
But I did have a situation where I had to remove myself from a situation and I didn't talk to people for almost 2 years. And it caused a lot of issues amongst the family and stuff. But once that they realized that like I needed to, I wasn't so much angry at them in my situation. It was just I wasn't in the right place of mind, and I didn't feel like they had my back in certain situations.
Yeah.
But once we took that 2 year break, and then we reconnected and sat down and had a conversation, I have one of the best relationships ever. And I'm not saying that the relationship is ever going to go back, but at least maybe give you that piece. Like, just say like, hey, listen, you said your piece. Thank you for that. But here's where we need to be at this point in time. Like, I'm going to go my way, you're going to go yours. But at least you'll have that like kind of peace of mind.
Yeah. Maybe. And that's something I've thought about over and over again. Because it wasn't just me that he was, problematic with. It was my mother. It was my sister. Again, growing up, like, I didn't realize that what was happening with him and my mother was not good. Like, I just thought that was normal. Like, people talk about in the media, like, it's kind of normal. And then I grew up and I'm like, oh, that's not normal. So I have thought about it. But the thing is, he has mental health problems. And, like, normally I'd be accommodating with that kind of thing. However, his particular breed is where he, first of all, thinks that women are, like, inferior. Yeah, like, when I told him I want to join the military, he was just like, women don't belong in the military. And
there are people who feel that way.
That still feel that way.
I know people who literally feel like, if you're a woman and you're strong and you want to go do things, like, they can't date a girl that they have to, like, be worried about, or that they're going to do, like, a physical thing, or, like, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, people go to me like, oh, where's Heidi? I'm like, oh, she's doing her thing. Or where's your, like, oh, I'm out doing my thing. And it blows, like, and that's even like that's a small thing, but it blows people. Like, why aren't you together?
Yeah.
Because
like,
we can live other,
she doesn't have dinner at home waiting for you? Your favorite meal?
She does, but only because I can't cook.
All right, you lucked out then.
Yeah.
It's where you get both.
I should learn. So pop it up there.
Yeah. What is this? I thought you'd have shit together before you got here.
It's all falling apart. So actually, if you see, it kind of bubbles here. So I did a show with Roger from Martian Materials.
I love him.
I do too, right?
Oh,
but what happened was, I stepped out for a second to go get some beers. I thought he was going to have one with me. Didn't know he didn't drink. And he bought a pizza. Very, very nice of him. He bought a pizza for us to share for the show. And he put it down on the table. And I guess the heat from the pizza
warped it.
Lift all the stickers off. And then I noticed it. I took it off, and he goes, was it me? Well, I guess I'm kind of telling the story now. But he's like, is it me? And I was like, no, man. What happens is I leave my laptop here. And I think it already... Because I didn't want to be like... I didn't want to, like, I don't know, like... make them feel bad.
You don't want people to feel bad unnecessarily when they're good people.
Exactly. So I was like, dude, it was the heat from the computer. It was already like that.
Yeah.
But the pizza didn't help. But I fixed it. I pushed it all back down. But he's a sweetheart. He's a really nice guy.
I love him.
I had such a good time. Oh, we actually did it in the store.
Really?
So the backdrop of the interview was like the pinball machines.
That's rad.
It was so cool. Yeah.
I wish I was interesting.
Yeah.
We can have us at Evans Livery if you want.
Yeah, sure. Next time.
All right. Yeah, next time.
We'll do it like at the campaign headquarters.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
My office. No, I don't have an office. I have a cubicle. Look at me.
Is that where you work still? Like,
yeah.
Like that?
Yep. I still work there.
So what exactly do you do now that once this is like in general? Like, what's the details of your job, if you're allowed to go into that?
All right, no, I'd have to kill you. So I'm a system analyst. It's mostly like I started off in tech support. Did you turn it off and on again? Is it plugged in? That kind of thing. And then system analysts are more like steering change and development within like the like IT infrastructure, software, and applications, all that stuff. Just mostly making like project requirements, investigating to see what's up, where stuff is located, what stuff does now, what needs to be changed, fielding requests from people. It's a lot of that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's local?
It is local.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. People always say like, oh, it's so hard to find jobs here. And just like, okay, you're right. But I lucked out. So yeah.
I work on the phones as well. That's an interesting gig. You meet some pretty awesome people talking on the phone sometimes.
Oh my God. Some of my best friends.
I actually knew someone who worked for not personally, but like the 911 call center and stuff. Like, they're like, you should go for that job. I'm like, no way. Like, you're literally talking to people at the worst moments of their lives. Like, I'm a strong mentally person, but I don't think I could do that. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff. Like, not weird, but interesting jobs in the area that you don't think they're possible. Like, everything I know has always been factories.
Yeah,
because that's all.
Distribution centers.
I don't have education, so it's just like, off to the factories you go. But then with my disorder, I was like, I need to find something in an office, and it's very hard being a 30-year-old male who doesn't look like he's in bad shape because I don't physically look like I have something wrong with me, and then apply for an office job, and they're like, bro, go lift a box.
Yeah, like, what are you doing, Muscle?
Exactly. Like, I'm like, I'm fat. Can I be the fat guy in the office? They're like, no, it sucks.
The position's taken.
Yeah, that's yeah. We don't get much love though. I was actually gonna have someone local on and just do like a whole episode on feminism. It'd be really fun because I want to learn some things, but I also want to meet in the middle with some things as well. Like how you said, like you a feminist, right?
Yes.
Feminist.
Yeah.
But you also said like you do realize that there is another side of the coin. Like men go through some shit too.
Yeah, people don't get that. Feminism isn't just like, oh yeah, women are great. 'Cause they are great.
Well, that's because people only see like the politics. They only see the extreme right and the very extreme left. And when they see like the Black Lives Matter, I don't know why I said ladder.
I know what you meant.
Matter movement or the feminism movement. They only show the extreme side where they're like, we want all men dead, and you're like, that's not how everyone feels in that movement.
No, it's just like people don't realize, like, and if you think critically about most issues, you'll see this, they're systematic. So most things, like when I talk about being a feminist and people continue talking to me in those rare instances, they'll be like,
Feminist Democrat, you're just like,
I'm just, oh man,
who
with
owns
a
an
gun,
who owns an AR-15
with a rifle,
and you're wearing a fur coat while you're talking to
just
them.
like, listen, bitches, you're gonna get some knowledge today. It's like, oh, well, you're a feminist, but why is it that I lost custody of my kid? Like, my ex-fiance has full custody of my kid. I hardly see him. It's just like, that's because the same society that doesn't want women to climb the corporate ladder thinks that women are innately good caretakers and should have full custody. So maybe if we buck this idea that women are supposed to be mothers and supposed to be caretakers, then judges will take men more seriously. And it's just like, it's not just about women, and feminism isn't just about women. It's like these issues hurt both people.
It's changing the way people think of things, and not all of them are very pro women. A lot of people think the feminist movement is just like we want this, and this. Like the best way when people boil it down, for the most part, from what I gather, is like we want equal, but we also don't want to do the same thing like that other people do. And it's like that's not the whole purpose behind it. How you're saying, like, yes, there's females who think that are part of this movement who think, yeah, not all mothers should be are fit mothers.
Yeah,
and we need to change the way people think of that situation and give it a fair shot for everyone. But once again, people only see the very extreme sides of those movements, and
then they write it all off,
and
even the parts that would help them.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I worked when I worked in factories, and a girl would come in and she start work, and I used to have people come to like, you're not going to help her do that? I was like,
she's a grown woman.
We're getting paid the same wage. Like, we're both hired to do the same job. They're like, yeah, but she can't lift those 50-pound things all day. I was like,
fucking watch her.
I was like, we're going to take turns, but I'm not going to do it all day long. Like, and she appreciated it. She's like, thank you. I feel like she didn't like when people babied her. Like, she's like, I can do it too. Like, that's why I'm here. And like, I don't know. It sucked. It was not sucked, but it was weird. It's an interesting thing.
It's hard to navigate.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here today?
Oh, God.
It's a weird way to say it. Touch on?
I know. Like, what? Wow.
That got weird. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
I want to hear from my lawyer, but
yeah. So I want to say, like, thank you so much for coming in. I'm not wrapping it, but I just want to say, like, when you came and sat down, like, obviously we're two complete strangers who've never met and just sat down and talked, and I am a very interesting person, and I have a weird sense of humor. And
same.
Yeah.
So interesting.
It was good, man. I feel like there's a cool little friendship here now. Like, it's fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I got to learn some things today about politics that I didn't know.
And feminism.
Yep. I was gonna do when I was gonna do the episode with her. It was gonna do like kind of like an Always Sunny intro, and it's like the gang learns feminism.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like when humor kind of talks on points that people are uncomfortable talking about, because it kind of like makes it lighthearted, but also kind of
easy to swallow.
Yeah. And it also makes it like somewhat, I guess, educational. Like, oh shit, like obviously if you watch like a comedian talk about certain things and you're like, he's just being like he's being mean, I'm like, no, he's actually kind of making a point, but he's also making a point for the right direction. You're just not, it's just going over your head in a way.
Yeah. It's not setting well.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and I think like comedy and movies and TVs get a weird rap when it comes to certain things in that aspect, because movies and TVs go to that same thing with you, like, oh, you're an actor, cool, I want to see your movie. Wait a second, is Bradley Cooper Republican or Democrat? And then they're like, oh, he's this. Like, oh, fuck that. I'm never watching a Bradley Cooper movie ever again. I don't care. He likes the Eagles. I don't care.
Oh, my God.
I've actually heard that said by someone, that that he supported something, and they loved him because he was pro Philadelphia Eagles. but then found out his political beliefs, and then all like just wrote him off like they hated him.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch that Lady Gaga movie. Bradley Cooper doesn't believe what I believe.
Sacrilege.
Terrible. But yeah, so is there anything you want to plug or get out there or have people go check out?
I'm not running for anything anymore. Follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's all I got going on.
What would you, if you can have a takeaway for today, what would you want people in the area to do when it comes to local politics?
God, where to start? Pay attention. Don't associate local politicians with some politicians you've heard of from faraway lands like California or wherever. Like, look at someone individually. I know it's so hard to look at someone from the opposite party and give them a chance, but you need to hear people out. Like, I don't know how else to say it without sounding like an idiot or sounding cliche. It's just like, we do not listen to people for what they have to say. We're so prejudicial. Just take 2 seconds of your day, look up, like, local election. Their elections are every single year, so know that come May and come November, there's going to be an election. You should look these people up. That's pretty much it.
When people, when you're running for office, and do you ever have that thing where, like, maybe because I only know TV politics, but like, do you ever go to like a town hall and you're there with like your competitor and you have like debates or one-offs or anything like that?
We tried to have a debate, but it kept falling through because there's not a lot of interest for local politicians to debate most of the time. The commissioners do because they're like a big deal, but any of the row office candidates, no. Like the most we ever had was the labor unions had a meeting. They invited both of us. We both showed up. And the other candidates, we just gave a plug about what we're about. There's no actual debates. It was just us talking about ourselves. That's what you do. Was it
like a one-on-one thing, or is it like for the treasurer position, or is it like 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans?
One-on-one.
One-on-one.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So, how can people find out more about those offices? Because it is not glamorized, or it is not something that's put out there super easily. Where can someone go during election season to find this information out about local politics and find out what each candidate's about? You said the website sucks, so I don't like.
We're getting to the point. This is the first election where like every candidate had a Facebook page. 4 years ago, they did not have Facebook pages because nobody cared. So really, for like practical advice, if you just have no idea what's going on, you could Google like Schuylkill County elections, see what comes up. If you want like a jumping point of like what the offices do, my best suggestion would be look up the results of this 2019 election for the county offices and then just work backwards. Look at what each candidate has to say. They'll touch on what the office does and what could be done. That's just my most practical advice. I'd love to say go to our county website and look there, but the reality is it's not really intuitive. It's not really descriptive. You'll get a general idea. That's a huge dropping point. Like a huge, like for the biggest thing. So I'm getting very involved with like the local music scene because I'm very passionate. I think that people are really good talents, but they're just not being exposed. And like local radio and local media is not covering the local band who's playing as strikers who can be the next big thing. But then we have a big band that blows up and then people all of a sudden are like, well, oh my God.
Yeah, well, they're doing like, you know, I mean, I remember when, but even then, like we have a local band in the area who's doing amazing things and they just got played on the radio for the first time ever 2 days ago, which is crazy to me. Like, where's the local support? I want to use as a platform to help local politics on either side. Just like I don't want to be like pro Democrat, pro Republican. Like I would love to have a platform where both people can come in and not maybe together, but just say like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Yeah, I don't want a cat fight. I'm not interested in that. It'd be like, hey, like so if you're running again next year, like, hey, here you're back on and you're talking your points, and then have like whoever you're come on and do the same thing. So at least people could be educated enough to find out what they want to do. And I wouldn't be pro one side or the other. But the thing is, I don't know enough about politics to be a good person to maybe do that type of show. But I think it'd be cool to have something like that in the area.
Yeah, it definitely would be.
Because people like. For instance, this interview, like you're going to say, hey, I was on this thing and here's the link to go watch it. And people who like you, support you, or follow you on social media will hopefully go like it. And if you do, hit that like and subscribe button. It'll help me out. But also, I think that'd be a good thing for local politics because we're at a point in age where people are glued to their phones and social media. So we need to find it easier for these people to find out what these people are about. And maybe not have like a 2-hour podcast, but
yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I'm very influenced by Joe Rogan, so it does take a while sometimes, you know. But it was a good conversation. But yeah, I think that's something we maybe should work on.
Yeah.
Maybe
think
not.
about-
Maybe not just me, but like
yes, other people.
Yeah.
Who also care.
exactly. And I'm not saying I mean, I don't.
But there are people out there
Yeah.
that do care. If you can find,
Yeah.
like, you know.
I do know there is a podcast out of Bloomsburg that does they're super into politics. I should send you their way. His name's Terrain.
Okay.
He does a show called Alcoholics.
Yes.
And what they do is they will have some wine and talk politics. But I believe they're Democrats. They're very pro-Democrat.
My people. Oh,
But
they may
they-
not like me, though.
But they are also very respectful and have Republicans on and have actual good debates. I've listened to their show, but a lot of the stuff they talk about just goes straight over my head because I don't understand when it comes to policies and stuff like that. But you should check them out. Maybe you should, and you could do like an episode there and talk politics with them and have fun.
Yeah.
They seem like they're a good time. He was on my show,
Uh-huh.
and we talked politics. He was really, really fun. So maybe check it out.
I'll give him a look-see.
Give him a try. Give him
Yeah.
a shot. Give him
Yeah.
a shot. See, look, how many other people are going to tell you to go listen to something else and not the one I'm running?
Yeah,
See, I'm
see?
about putting people over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, but that's a big thing. I think that'd be a good idea for the local scene, especially someone like me. Like, maybe I would find more interest in it because for me, I feel like I'm more of a disser. Like people are like, oh, you're a problem because you don't vote. But for me to walk in and just fucking, I like her name, I'm going to put a check on her box. That's not doing anything either. That's even more the problem. I think. Like for people who like, oh, I voted today, and they get their little sticker and they're super happy about
yeah.
it. But if I also told you like, hey, can you tell me about every single person you voted for? And you're like, no,
Yeah.
like then you're just as much of a problem as me not voting because you're just getting a box because they rep the red color or the
Yeah.
blue color.
Yeah.
like do
Like
your homework a little bit. Like
6,000 people in Schuylkill County.
yeah, that was a crazy thing I read where it was one of the most alarming things where it was just completely
Showed up, hit one button, and left.
Yep.
Yep, all those people on the ballot, and they hit one button and left.
So that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's to me. That's just as much of a problem as someone who doesn't vote. Mm-hmm. But that'll be the first ones like, well, you didn't vote, so you don't have a say. Well, you voted, but you didn't do your homework either.
Yeah, see,
You're
elected
just-
crazy
yeah.
people.
Exactly. You elected anyone in. For the majority of the politics in this area, it did go majority Republican, correct?
County level, every single Republican won.
Not one Democrat won.
Well, we had one Democrat, the Commissioner Gary Hess, because there has to be one Democrat. It's a majority and then one minority from the other party. Two
Okay.
majority, one minority. So we had to have one. There's no way we could have lost that one.
yeah. So everything you could have lost, you've lost.
Everything lost, yep.
Yeah.
All the money, all the time spent, everybody lost.
Now we're not electing like the governor yet, right?
No, that's 2 years. Not next year, but the year after.
I can't keep track of all of it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So local levels every year.
Every
and then
4. So this one is every 4 years.
It's like the Olympics and the World Cup. I can't like.
So there's a lot going on.
So I'm sorry, I cut you off.
So all right, so this one's going to be 4 years from now, 2023. That'll be the next county one. Next year's a presidential election cycle and a midterm, or no, that's the full term. And then,
So right now our governor is Democrat.
yes,
Tom
Yes.
Wolf. I feel like he has no shot when it comes back around.
Ooh, really?
Only because if you look at our area,
Mm-hmm.
people don't care about his politics. They care because he reps a color.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if they're at the local level already just saying check all,
Mm-hmm.
I can't see him having a good shot at it, a fair shot,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what his politics are. Would you agree?
Again, that's all conjecture because I may be completely off, but I believe 4 years ago, when every Democrat lost in the county level, we voted in huge amounts for the 2 Democratic judges that were running at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what people do if they're just like, okay, I'm going to vote Democrat for judges and Republican everything else. It's so hard to pin down.
Mm-hmm.
As for Tom Wolf, it's like I'd love to be like, oh yeah, this election was a clear indicator that he's going to get fucked next year, 2 years from now, whenever. But the reality is some different people come out to vote, different people
For different
For elections,
structures.
yeah.
For different structures. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Like some people don't really vote for the local, but
yeah, they'll care about
the major
governor.
leagues, the semi-pro and pro leagues, I guess we'll say, like in
Yeah.
sports terms. What are some things with this election now, this local level,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe policies that they were doing that most concerns you in our area right now?
So the one thing that I really harped about was the fact that most of the people up there treat the county jobs like they're part-time jobs. So they'll have they're either like lawyers or business owners, and then they have this job that pays $56,000, $57,000, $58,000 a year plus benefits that they just, keep the money. And it's just like, so their business is open from 8 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and the courthouse is 8 to 4:30. How are you at both places at the same time? The obvious answer is they're not. So it's just, it's hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that these people keep getting elected. I'm not trying to put down anybody in particular. I just want to put that out there.
I couldn't tell you
generally
who,
speaking, it's
I couldn't
just
tell you who even won. I'm just being.
It's like, people in Schuylkill County don't make, like, if you look at like the median household income, I think it's in the 30s, and then these politicians get paid $56,000 for a job they don't have to put the hours into. They get benefits, they get education reimbursement, and it's just like, for what reason? You don't need a degree to do the county job, but you're billing the taxpayers for your continuing education requirements so you can keep whatever licenses or whatever that you don't need for the job. It's like, how can you justify that when there's like the people are dealing with blight, people are dealing with the drug crisis? It's just like, there's so much wasteful spending. There's no reason for us not to start with the people we elect who aren't even in there full time. Some people were saying like we should have them clock in, and I'd be about that if we want to have them clock in and then actually like try to convince them to work for a living. But even cutting like the pension plan, it's like everywhere you look, people are losing the pension plans and they're being moved into 401ks. It's like, why wouldn't we start with the politicians? Like. Yeah, it shouldn't be like you get elected twice and then you've got a full ride for the rest of your life. It shouldn't be like that.
How many terms can you serve as a local official?
Unlimited.
So you can just keep going.
You can just keep going.
So you could be the treasurer for like 50
100 years, yeah. Or 50, whatever. More
as long
practical.
as however you live, right? How long do you live?
You could be in there that long.
The person you ran against, how long have they been in office?
She's only been in, this will be her second election that she's won.
Without, I don't know if I want to. Once again, I don't want to start a cat fight, but do you think she has been doing a decent job at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's why we didn't really get into mudslinging because
you respect what she does.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
Now, I know with the other elections, it wasn't necessarily like that. It was a lot more back and forth.
Mudslinging.
Yeah.
That's
it's
gross.
just like I didn't have time for that, and she didn't start none. So don't start none, won't be none. So that's what happened. There was none. But it's funny because, like, I didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. But people will say, like, oh, this is the dirtiest election I've ever seen. And
on your level or just in general?
At my level. And they were like, everybody that lost because they played dirty. And she's like, you don't even know what my name is because I didn't play dirty. But you're going to just say, like, oh, make these blanket statements.
So they said you lost because you tried to play dirty.
No, they said like everybody who I'm just going off of what people say on social media, but that's the association people have. They said that everybody, nobody responds to like mudslinging, and it's like that's not true at all. People totally respond to mudslinging.
Like, yeah, the right love it. Here's all right. So this is all right. Maybe I'm gonna generalize, and I'll get hate for it.
Here we go.
But I feel like the right. Like for example, like a lot of the videos you see, and this is maybe the extreme right, and I'm not putting everyone in the same bubble, but the extreme right like to go to events or protests or things that are going on that maybe the left are very passionate about, and they go there and create a disturbance and rile people up and get people angry,
and then we do dumb shit,
and then calling them intolerant because they're screaming at them. Like, what are you proving at that point? Like, you're just there to like, I fucking hate all yous and I don't like what you're doing, and then they take that edit part out and they just show them going around trying to then have interviews with people once they've already poked the beehive. You know what I mean? Like,
they've already pissed them off.
Yeah, and then it makes one whole side look terrible. And listen, some of those people on those videos are fucking crazy.
Are terrible.
Yeah, they're terrible too because they're the extreme left of the other side. But it just, I don't know, it's just pointless to me. And for people who legit buy into that, scare the shit out of me. Like, are you, maybe because once again I'm a pro wrestling fan and I know a work when I see it, so a work is like a storyline, or you know what I mean? Like, so when I see politics, I'm like, man, people are being worked.
Yeah, and they don't even know, and they don't even care,
and they love it.
Yeah,
they love it. They're like, man, I don't care. My color says this is what I need to do. I'm going for it.
This sets to my preconceived notions and makes me feel good, so I'm gonna roll with it.
So on the, like how you kind of said you are, I don't want to say pro fur, but like there's certain things that you are, that people on your side normally don't go for. Is there any other hot topic buttons that maybe you lean to the other side over the other?
Let me see. All right, so the gun thing.
You are pro Second Amendment, but you also do feel that there needs to be something done.
Some regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. I don't know. I wouldn't want to go so far as to say like, oh, I'm fiscally conservative because I agree on spending money.
Like
on
when we had, I don't know if it was on the same podcast, but we talked. There was a hot button topic we had, and it was kind of dealt with the wrestling thing because there's a wrestler who is pro wrestling. Pro wrestling, to me, in my opinion, it's scripted. I'm not gonna say it's fake because it's not, because you still are competing, but it is scripted. It's predetermined. You know who's going to win, and at the most time, like they are going out there and doing a physical act, but they're not legit out there trying to hurt each other.
Yeah.
So that there's certain things, and I don't like that pro wrestling has got to the point where it's segregated, where men can't go against women and women can't go against men, because some of the best wrestling at some point has been when they cross gender, and people, they say they don't do it because they don't want to promote domestic violence, but it's still entertainment. It's not saying like it's okay to do that, but in that situation it's story, you know what I mean?
I feel like they misunderstand the fundamentals of domestic violence.
Yeah. And what sucks about it too, not sucks but pisses me off about it, is like WWE is a big company, so if any of this is going over your head, sorry,
I'm already lost.
All right, so WWE is very like, they don't do any men versus women matches. They have them in the same ring, but once they make a tag, it's only women versus women. But they always allow the women to hit the men, but the men never hit the women. It's like an unwritten rule. I'm like, well, you're kind of then playing it for one side. Then you're like saying it's okay for one and not the other.
Yeah.
But I digress. So there was a woman who's wrestling and she's transgender, and it was like a huge thing, like, oh, transgenders in sports, and we don't agree with that. Now, on the pro wrestling thing, I don't give a shit, because because once again, I don't think with a predetermined story, I don't think it should matter anyway. But maybe on one side where I'm very pro LGBT. Like, listen, if you're transgender and that's what you want to be, awesome, do you. As long as whatever makes you happy, go for it. But like on the same token too, is like there's women athlete who work their ass off to be a woman athlete, and then at a high school level, she's running against a transgender woman and she's getting dusted. And there's and I don't want to come across as like insensitive, but like biologically, there's nothing she can do about that.
Yeah.
So I am very pro one thing, but on the other side, we need to come together on something on that standpoint. Like, I'm a big mixed martial arts fan. Now, on this, there is certain situations too where women go out and run, and maybe this is just the media putting one side of the story out, because there is certain situations where transgender people do compete in the other thing and lose, where a woman wins legitimately. Like, I don't want to say a biological woman because I don't want to come off insensitive, but like the transgender does lose in the fight. Like, there was a transgender woman who was in mixed martial arts, and her first 10 fights, like, really, really hurt people. Like, broken orbitals, like, really put a beating on it. And then she worked her way up and fought like a top 5 female fighter and lost.
Yeah.
Bad. So then it kind of throws the whole theory out the window. So, but it's just like, where's that line? And like, so that's just one instance. Is there anything like that on your spectrum that you're maybe lean one way or more than the other?
So up to this point, I've really looked at like the like as a scare tactic. Like, that's like, oh, we can't let these trans people be running around because they'll beating women. Be beating women at their own sports. And just like, first of all, nobody cares about women's sports anyway. Like, oh, now you care about women's basketball, but it's just like, I don't know how often that really happens. But another thing I'd be interested to hear is the perspective of a trans person, competing in whatever gender sporting event. Like, what do they think going into that? Like, what is their motivation? What do they feel about being in this situation?
There's definitely two sides to every coin.
I really need to hear something like that before I make a definitive decision, because there's a reality.
Yeah, I'm definitely not totally against it, but that's just kind of where I lie now. But I'm 1,000% open for that conversation. Like, I'm not saying I'm closed-minded from it. That's kind of just where I stand now.
Yeah.
Like, even with like the abortion thing, I'm very like, I think people should have a choice. I do. But on the same, especially for medical viable reasons, and like, but like, the only thing I'm super against is if it's not for medical viable reason and it's like a late term thing. That's where I'm like, ooh, that's tough. You know what I mean? But who am I to make a fucking call? I don't know. Like, but it's just one of those things where I don't know where I lie in those situations. So I'm not pro one side or the other, but I can definitely see both sides of the coin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can definitely see how can be a passion. Like, that's one of the only topics that, like, one of the major topics. Like, guns, I don't give a fuck about. Like, I do, but I don't. Like, yes, people are dying left and right, but I feel like without doing the guns, there are other things that we can take care of, like mental health, that can then alleviate that gun problem, and it wouldn't be as bad as if we took care of just the people in general. But like the abortion thing, it's like, man, like, I can see. I mean, I don't know if you agree or not. But can you see how the right is like sees like, you know what I mean? Like,
so for me, that's another thing where it's just like, okay, they're kind of like using a distracting issue to call attention from the reality. And the reality is someone that's 8 months pregnant has a nursery set up. They're expecting to have a baby. If something happens, it's like someone getting a late-term abortion probably really needs it.
Yeah, for a medical reason.
I can't imagine how many people are running around out there like, yeah, I'm like 39 weeks pregnant, but yeah, you know, I just decided I can't do this anymore. I don't feel like that happens enough for this to become like a legitimate part of the conversation, because there's other risk factors at play.
So you're saying it's a media thing. It could be a media thing as well, where they're just taking out that one.
It's a distraction. It's supposed to make you think of the worst case scenario. It's just like, on the other hand, it's just like we're regulating a health choice. It's just like people will be out there saying like, oh, people who get an abortion should be charged with murder. And it's like, okay, what about miscarriages? People don't realize, like, technically, when you take the abortion pill, it's a medically induced miscarriage. It's like, there comes into play, like, you know, if someone has a miscarriage, should they be investigated? If abortion is legal, then if a woman does drugs while pregnant and loses her baby, is that an abortion? If someone is overweight and knows that being overweight leads to complications with pregnancy, and then they lose the baby, are they at fault as somebody who's like deliberately trying or like passively succeeding in losing a pregnancy? It's like, 100%. Where do we draw the line?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not up to us to draw a line.
Yeah, nothing is ever black and white, and that's another thing too. I think if people just sit down and like how like they want Planned Parenthood to be terminated, and it's Planned Parenthood's not just an abortion factory. Yeah, like my wife, that's where she got her contraceptives from. Like she gets her birth control through Planned Parenthood. Now she has to pay for that. Once again, we don't have that kind of money, so that's an expense right now. So yes, we are trying to be responsible because we don't want to have children. So that was a form that Planned Parenthood was helpful. You know what I mean? And then she used to go to doctors that way. She would go to get her checkups. She would go and make sure she's not suffering from any types of cancers with breast or you know, anything like that. And now because it's just like, no, that place is only for that one reason. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, like I personally use Planned Parenthood because the reality is, most women know, if you go to a gynecologist and you need anything, they're like, yep, it'll be about 3 months before you get an appointment because, you know, they do other things. But Planned Parenthood, their goal is, you know, planning parenthood, STD checking. So it's just like, if I need something, like, for example, I was going to basic training. I wanted to make sure I had birth control. And a lot of people gave me a side eye, like, why would you need birth control in basic training? It's just like, I'm not trying to get laid here. I just want to make sure that I don't get off birth control in an already physically taxing time. Because when you get off birth control, all this crazy shit happens. So I'm trying to get my birth control, like, in a couple packs so I have enough to last me. Before basic training, and my doctor's like, yeah, I can't help you. You have to come in for an appointment. I can't write you a prescription without it. I go to birth control, Planned Parenthood for birth control, and they're like, oh yeah, you been on it? Here, we'll just write you the prescription, send it right away, because they're like, that's what they're there to do. They're there to help people. They're not. Yeah.
The big thing is I mean, listen, if we were to have a child, like if it happened, we would 100% go through it. Only for the simple fact is like I feel like listen, if she hadn't medically needed to abort the baby, 100%, like it's her life. I want her here. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think what a lot of people get, you know, and it happens a lot, is where parents, like, they care for the child more than they care about their significant other. And listen, I've had a story on here where, you know, parents wanted to be parents in the worst way and they lost a kid, and their views is like, I couldn't imagine someone, because they hear that worst case scenario on the media where. It's kind of like everybody that wants an abortion.
The baby was born and they strangled it on the table.
Do I think that happens? Maybe. I don't know. Like I you know what I mean, I'm sure there is scenarios where someone just like, you know what, I don't want to go through with this. And I think it can be something that can happen, but I don't think it's the majority, like you were saying. But yeah, so she went to her doctor. She was possibly thinking of getting her tubes tied because I'm a chicken shit and don't want them to cut my area. Yeah. Because
we've heard it all before.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I'm just a punk, I guess. It is what it is. I'm a pussy. Which is a terrible analogy as well. It's kind of like we were talking about before, like the F word and the R word, because that area is super strong, and it takes, and like, like, don't I know it? I couldn't imagine pushing a baby out of that thing. Like,
me neither.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I getting kicked in the nuts is terrible. I think instead of like the word pussy, you should just be like, stop being testicles. Yeah, those things are sensitive. Yeah. So she wanted to get her tube tied, and the first thing the doctor said to her was, "Did you get your consent from your husband?" And she's like, "What?" Yeah.
What?
She needs like a fucking signed note by me to get her tubes. She doesn't really need to, but that was like the way they were treating her. Like she's too young to make that decision. Yeah. It's kind of shitty.
Yeah, we don't treat people like
humans.
Yeah, and that's another part to the abortion conversation. It's like, it's not a good situation. We should actively try to prevent abortion wherever possible. We need better sex education. I will go on record as saying the sex education I got at Pottsville was awful. All they did was say, don't have sex. And it's just like, well, I gotta be honest with you, buddy.
It's awesome.
That ship sailed. So what can you do for me? And they're like, well, we're abstinence only here. And it's just like, it was 2012 and they were still abstinence only. It's like there's pregnant teenagers out there and you're going to be like, yeah, it's abstinence only. Like, what's that going to do for them? We need to start teaching people, like, first of all, sex makes babies, that kind of thing. How to not get pregnant, through birth control, pull out and pray. They gotta cover that. That was
my go-to. I was so good at that. Yeah. Never had a kid, not that I know of.
So you can teach the class, be like, listen. Yeah. If you feel like rolling the dice, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. I always I joke with my friends like, oh, I have like 15 kids. I'm like, bro, you realize when it tingles, you got to get the fuck out of there.
God.
Like, you got to abandon ship, bro.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. Like, you can't. I understand it's awesome, but you got to. If that's not what you want, you need to roll. You need to get out of there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's terrifying. It's crazy. That's 100%. They need to educate that more. Like, that has to be something that has to be talked about. There's so many issues. Like, obviously, like, our world's full of them. And once, just kind of summarize it, the top doesn't care. Because if someone is rich and they wanted to get an abortion, guess what? They can afford it.
Yeah.
Even if it was outlawed. If they outlawed abortion tomorrow, and someone who's super, super rich, unfortunately, maybe their daughter had a situation where she was raped, or she's going to be medically not viable. They're rich, and they would get it done, and nobody would ever know. Yeah. Because they have different privileges than we do. It is what it is. The only thing I don't want is, like, back when it was illegal and people were, like, fucking dying in alleys because they were trying to... Yeah. Not good. Not good at all. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this.
Light conversation.
Yeah, that was... we ended on, like, the... craziest thing, not craziest, but like kind of morbid. But but anytime you want to come back, let me know. This is fun. We'll get like a roundtable discussion going or something.
I know it's hard. Find a nice centrist Republican and we'll just like agree on a bunch of stuff, and
oh my God, I'll try to mediate it and it'll be fun. If there's anyone who's Republican but also has a fucking sense that they don't want to get it. As we were about to wrap, the camera died, so I quick changed the battery. If you're listening to this on audio, I'll probably edit it out. I don't know why you're talking about it, but thank you for coming in. I had such a good time. I learned so much about you and politics, and I thought it was really, really fun. So she is single, but she's just not interested, so don't be creeps.
Yeah.
And what else did we learn? That don't be a jerk.
Yeah, don't be rude to people.
Yeah, don't
catch these hands.
Don't assume. There you go. That's a wrestling thing too. That's a guy's thing. He's catch these hands. Yeah, that's his like his catchword. We get you a T-shirt. It's on.
Nice.
It's gonna get these hands. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. We're gonna get these hands.
You're gonna get one. You're gonna get these. Well, you ever see on Facebook where it says like buy one get one free? These hands.
Oh my God. That's the shirt I need.
Yeah. You can get, because you're pro gun. You can get Smith and Wesson tattooed.
Can't ban these guns.
But thank you so much for coming in. I had a really good time. Yeah. This is why I started this. Like, this is 45 episodes in. The ones that are, I'm not saying that I don't like the ones where I know the people and I sit down and we have a conversation, because I cherish those as well. But I do like kind of meeting a complete stranger and having a conversation and showing that two strangers can sit down and have a conversation and it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's healthy. It's
normal.
good.
Yeah. Good thing you didn't run my background check, though. This would not have happened.
Yeah, I didn't.
Let's water under the bridge.
I didn't check anything out. You're fine.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good, though.
Why? Is there something that I should have known?
No, it's fine.
We can go longer.
I served my time.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That'll do it for Interviews with Everyday People. If you did make it this far, please hit that like button. So like and subscribe. Actually, I don't even care if you hit the like button. Just hit subscribe on any audio platform you're listening to or on YouTube. It helps us out. But thank you guys so much for the support, and we'll see you next time. So much fun, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. Wow. Two?
Living my life, just living my life, just living my life. It's my time. Just living my life, just living my life, just living my life. It's my time. Athletic at the peak of my life. Slipped a couple times. I was speeding on ice. Never took a risk. Then you cheating your life. You never took a risk. Then you cheating your life. It's a hole in my heart, probably never be filled. And part of me thinks it'll never be healed. I lost some of my family to the dope. Overflow my mind with positive vibes, that's how I cope. They ask if I stop, I tell them no. Speak foul on my name, clean your mouth out with soap. I'm crying right now while I'm writing this shit. I'm dying inside just from fighting this shit. Amidst all the darkness, I see light in this bitch. Give me one small spark and I'm igniting this bitch.